Just walk away. Just walk away, and there will be an end to horror.
Alright, we should be live. Now, if we should go ahead. Hey, Rico's in the chat. Mr. Rico, can you hear me? And let us know if you can hear us in the chat. I'm just been experimenting a bit with this. Hopefully it's not lagging. We got 5 watching. Yeah, it looks like we're live. Okay, we got 5 watching. It looks like if you guys can hear us, please say so in the chat. Either say you can or you cannot. I'm going to look. I think audio looks like it's working. Hello. I don't know. Maybe. All right. Anyway, let's just pretend like it is working. Because let's pretend like they can hear us, because we're definitely live. All right, everybody, welcome to this Saturday night. This is MGTOW Chat episode 15. Nick and I are back. It's just going to be Nick and I tonight. And if you see the title of Sexpatriates in Palestine, we're going to talk a little bit about Palestine eventually, but we want to start off by showing you guys some red meat. I know people had asked a little bit about us talking more about the concept of expatriatism and experiences of that. So we're going to do that today. We're going to talk to you about sexpatriatism, which is a completely sort of, I don't know, what do you call it, an exotic way to see the world? I don't know. It's a money, it's an industry. It's an absolute industry. And, yeah, and it drives a lot of men overseas, across the pond, so to speak. But before we do that, I would like to discuss an article that Nick sent me. You know what, I think I can share the screen for this, so I'm going to try that. It sounds pretty low, he says. Okay. Shit, why is it low? I know, but for them. Can you hear Nick? Can you... Can you hear Nick? I don't know why, because I haven't changed any of the settings. Check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2, pumping it up, pumping it up. I know, but it's me. Check, 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 check. You can't hear Nick at all? Keep talking, Nick. No, there's something going on here with the... why the fuck is it doing that? All right, we're having some technical difficulties. That's not unusual. I just got to figure out why. Hey, keep talking, Nick.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm alive and kicking.
Check 1 2.
Yeah, here we're okay.
You're loud.
Let me. What? Yeah, I don't. Yeah, no.
All right, make sure.
Yeah, we're fine, dude. I don't know what he's talking about. I hear we're fine on my YouTube, my PC.
You can hear it on your PC. Can you hear me on your PC?
Say it again.
Yeah, no. Check 1 2 1 2.
Yeah, you're low. You're low.
We're fine, dude. I don't know what he's talking about. I hear we're fine on my YouTube, my PC.
Okay. Check 1 2. Haha, there it is.
Yeah, you're low. It is low on your.
I'm loud now. I'm loud now.
Okay, cool. All right. let's get started.
All right, guys. Sorry about that. You know, I'm Gap Tech, as they say in Indonesian. I'm an old guy, and I'm still learning technology. So this is just gonna happen. Anyway, I want to try.
You're no millennial.
No, I'm no millennial. That's for sure. All right, so I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Tell me if it works.
Why would I have lied? Fake news, Rico. You're fake news.
There, it's working. Yeah, I'm still figuring this out. I want to talk a little bit about this article. Have you got it there, Nick? You got it in front of you?
I do have it.
Okay, so you guys should be able to see it. I think. It's
whoa, crazy shit. Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. There's just a delay.
Why Trump's tax plan may spur more divorces. Looming end of alimony write-off has divorce lawyers telling clients to act fast now. Divorce as soon as you can, guys. Or women, I should say.
Yeah, they're telling it to women because it's what I understand from this article is that Trump is going to fucking reform alimony laws and alimony payments. It says lawyers are counseling couples considering divorce to do it this year before a 76-year-old deduction for alimony payments is wiped out in 2019 under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. This is fucking incredible news. Like this is incredible.
Well, what's going to happen? Okay, so everyone's in a rush to get a divorce. Then what? Sure. Then it's not as lucrative to get a divorce after this goes through.
After this goes through, it's not as lucrative anymore. I mean, and you have to understand that most MGTOW probably know these talking points. Is that about 70% of divorces are instigated by the woman, all right? And what is it, like 80 to 85% of alimony is paid out by men to women. I mean, this is a 76-year-old law, apparently. I didn't know this. And they're going to fucking throw it in the trash. Like that's
a miracle.
This makes me love Trump. I mean, this should be...
Oh, yeah.
This for all MGTOW and for all, men's rights activists and people concerned with the rights of men and fathers, etc., etc. We should be celebrating this. There should be a fucking parade for this. So, and
it's a start.
Yeah.
It's a start. It's not, it's still not throwing alimony out altogether. It's just how much is someone really going to save doing this? Couple tens of thousands in the long run. It's still not,
well,
the best, I guess.
Yeah, it's a start. And the thing is it's not so much a money thing to me. It's sort of it's a principle thing, right? You're taking the wind out of the sails of just decrepit females, who will destroy a man's life in a heartbeat through.
Yeah, you're taking the wind out of the sails for women. So what will be interesting is how many people actually pull the trigger on getting the divorces before this is initiated.
Yeah, and I would urge a lot of our listeners go to this, find this article. Find this article, Why Trump's Tax Plan May Spur More Divorces, by Politico. Check it out and try to follow this and see what happens, because it will be interesting to see. I mean, if in the next 2 years, or I guess in the next year, are we going to see like 10,000 an increase in divorces by 10,000%? It'd be interesting to see.
I would say so, and this goes back to what I was stating in an earlier live stream. Is I do think you're going to see a large increase in divorces for the time being. Think of it like this, and again, I'm going to refer to like stock charts. There's something called a support line on a chart. Do you know what a support line is, Ayam?
What is this? You're talking about statistics?
A stock on a
stock.
stock chart.
Okay, no. Please tell me. I don't know.
Okay, it's not a support line is where the trading line goes horizontal. So it goes horizontal and it bounces off a certain dollar per share amount. So let's say a stock drops and it hits like $1, and it starts trading at $1. What you would never want it to break below the support line, because when it breaks below a support line, it usually plummets really hard until another support line, which would be another support line from like way back when, months ago, years ago. You have to look back at the historical analysis of the chart. So I look at it like with divorces as a support line, and what I do think is you're kind of where divorces are right now. They're on a support line, so they've been hovering around for the same. Divorces have been hovering around the same rate for an extended period. After this gets pushed through, we may see that support line break, and when it breaks, it goes all the way down. And what I mean by going all the way down, as far as divorces go, you're going to see a lot more an uptick in people separating and breaking up the families and end of marriages.
Yeah, I agree, but I want to point out too, like if you go over the article, it says here the deductions substantially reduce the cost of alimony payments for people in the highest income tax bracket. It means every dollar they pay to support a former spouse really costs them a little more than 60 cents. So I wonder if this is going to affect the everyday man.
I think it goes back what your where you fall income tax bracket.
Yeah.
So what's the numbers?
Right.
Do you know what they are? It should say it in the article.
The numbers of what? For the money?
Yeah.
It says it'll cost them 60 cents on the dollar for the highest for people in the highest income tax bracket. 60 cents on the dollar.
Right. So it says if someone who earns, say, $250,000, which puts them in the 24% income tax bracket under the new law, agrees to pay $4,000 per month, it really costs that person about $3,000 after taking the deduction into account.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see.
Without the break, many people will agree to pay only what would have been their after-tax amount. In this case, about $3,000. More couples will end up fighting in court because they won't be able to agree on alimony terms. Predicts Madeline Marzano Lesnevich, head of the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers.
She's got a hyphenated name. She's definitely a feminist. So
yes,
take her word with a grain of salt. Anyway.
It helps settle cases, she said. Without this, we'll have husbands saying, "I'm not paying that much." That will have wives asking, "How do I live?" said Marzano. "Get me before a judge so I can plead my case."
Yeah.
I love it.
But this is you know what this is? This is like a strike at gold diggers. This is cutting the legs off of gold diggers. That's amazing. I think there's some really positive effects of what's happening here. I don't know if Trump is like, I don't know if he's fighting for the man or if he's just out to fucking, give a tax break to people that have a lot of money. But regardless, it should be good news, really, for most of us.
Well, he has experience in getting. I mean, he's
Absolutely.
on his third wife, so
Yeah.
He's got firsthand experience on what it's like to be burned.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is a burn for the gold diggers out there. So I like it. I think it's great, and I'm looking forward to seeing, where this goes. But you got to remember, I think this article in question, if you read it, you can tell that the author has a biased anti-Trump slant to them, which is like fucking 80% of the media these days. anything anybody in the media says, anybody that has any power in the media usually is biased against Trump. So it's really hard to get an honest reaction out of anything he does.
It's hard to get proper feedback.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I just stated, this attorney said, "How will women live?"
Exactly.
Oh my God!
Well,
No! She'll be barefoot and pregnant in the street.
she'll have to actually get a job. What will she do? So, you know, I think, and that's the thing. It's like this article is written and read as sort of like, oh my God, Trump is so misogynist. It's against women. When in reality, if you strip it down and you look at it with an objective point of view, it's basically saying good. It's basically cutting the knees off of the gold diggers, which is a good thing.
Well, here's another one. The break has also long been criticized as a burden on the IRS. No, a burden on the IRS. How terrible! If the alimony amounts ex-spouses report paying and receiving don't match, it can force the agency to audit two people who may have already been feuding.
Yeah.
Work for the IRS. Why would we want to make their lives more difficult? They got money to steal from us.
Yeah. Well, and actually, you know, Rico just made a good point here. And again, this sort of tax cut that Trump's putting through, it's a small step forward. I mean, right? It's a small step forward, but Rico says that if families break up less, it incentivizes having more children born in America. Absolutely. I mean, in the long run, if this is the way he's going, it really is. What it's doing is it's just part of the pie that he's baking to cut off a lot of voters for the Democrats through well, who votes for Democrats? Women and and fucking illegals.
Yeah, it seems that reading this article that the divorce courts is actually been a bit of a problem, that they're just overwhelmed with the amount of people trying to get divorces, or women trying to divorce their husbands, I should say.
Absolutely. And
you can't just file for divorce today and expect that you're going to be divorced tomorrow. Yeah, sometimes it takes a really long time, and the more money, the longer the process is drawn out to be.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the thing. The laws in over the last 3 generations have made divorce easier and easier. Okay, this is the Marxist feminist agenda. It's made divorce easier and easier. It's over the last 20-30 years, divorce has just become easier and easier to do. Well, where before that it was a difficult thing, and I can make and kind of segueing into what we want to talk about with expatriatism. I understand how divorce works in Indonesia, which is a Muslim populous country. It's considered a developing nation. All right, it's Southeast Asia, completely different culture. It's very conservative. It's very religious, and divorce is not easy. And there's a lot of real specific laws that are put into place so that a woman can't just go, hey, you know what? I'm sick of my husband. I want to divorce him, and then lawyers start foaming at the mouth and getting ready for it to happen. You can't do that there. That's why it was a lot easier for me to actually get a divorce and get custody of my kid over there. So, well,
it's funny you mentioned about in regards to it being an Islamic country. You have white men in England going to Sharia courts to look for a safe haven. So you have a large segment of the white Christian population of males, Islam, to run away from their wives because they know the Sharia courts will protect them.
Yes, is that true? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's true.
That's fantastic. It's actually fantastic.
Well, it's fantastic and scary at the same time because it shows you how fucked up Christianity's become in Europe.
Yeah, well, yeah, it definitely shows you how fucked up Europe is. Europe's burning, man. Pretty bad. Christ.
Down to the ground.
Yeah. Big changes. Wonderful time to be alive. But
well, and also if we're discussing victories this week. Let me mention this Me Too article I pulled up.
Absolutely.
I pulled out of the newspaper today. Me Too activist faces allegations. Sacramento, California. Assemblywoman Cristina Garcia, a Me Too advocate, took a voluntary unpaid leave of absence Friday, a day after sexual misconduct allegations against her became public. Garcia, a Democrat, chairs the Legislative Women's Caucus and has been an outspoken ally of the anti-sexual harassment movement. She is accused of groping former legislative staff member Daniel Fierro in 2014, an allegation she denies. His claim is under a formal investigation, and Garcia said she is taking a leave to minimize distractions and avoid appearances of exerting influence. She said, of the details alleged, I am certain I did not engage in behaviors I'm accused of, Garcia said in a statement. However, as I've said before, any claims about sexual harassment must be taken seriously, and I believe elected officials should be held higher standard of accountability. Ferreros accused her of stroking his buttocks and trying to grab his crotch in a dugout after a legislative softball game. An anonymous male lobbyist told Politico on Thursday Garcia made a crude sexual remark and tried to grab his crotch at a May 2014 fundraiser. The lobbyist and Ferrer said Garcia appeared to be drunk and at the time of the incidents. Garcia was one of nearly 150 women to sign an open letter in October calling out a pervasive culture of sexual harassment in California's capital and said that she herself has been target of groping and inappropriate remarks by people in the building. She slammed two male colleagues accused of misconduct before both resigned last year. So this, on a side note, this woman got two men to resign from their post. Meanwhile, she's being accused of sexual harassment herself.
Unbelievable. No, I believe it.
And let's see. She was featured in Time Magazine's Person of the Year issue on sexual harassment silence breakers. On Monday, she was featured speaker. On Monday, she was a featured speaker at the Capitol rally in favor of legislation giving legislative staff members whistleblower protection for reporting sexual misconduct or other misbehaviors. You gotta love it, right?
No, it's beautiful because what's happening is we're seeing it bite them back, bite them in the ass. We're seeing the door hit them in the ass on the way out, and I love it how it's always California. You gotta love California, man. California is like the litmus test of the cancer.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like
at least in the United States, California is like the ground zero of this the Marxist cultural revolution.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're watching it like just fall apart. It's fantastic. Oh, and go ahead, go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that in order to fight this cultural Marxism, just play. To be honest with you, play their game. Play their game. Like I said, I'm an Italian American. I'm not white. Mm-hmm. What do you mean I'm white?
Yeah.
No. I'm a Catholic Italian American.
Yeah.
I don't know what you mean by white privilege. I don't know what you're talking about. Right? And let's say if you're German and Irish, claim you're biracial.
Yeah.
I'm biracial. I'm a German and Irish. I don't know what you're talking about. Just play it back to them.
Absolutely.
And then you start claiming human rights. Then you file a human rights complaint and a lawsuit saying that you've been discriminated against because you're a white male.
Yeah.
I'm being discriminated against. And then you can cite a bunch of shit that's all over the fucking internet about white privilege and shit.
Absolutely. And the article you mentioned here is picture perfect of that. I mean, it's none of their philosophy, or the philosophy that's being taught to these millennials that are going to college these days and going in a man and coming out a woman. None of their philosophy can stand the test of reality. It's all
right.
made up. It's all made up. It's like mathematics the mathematics of psychology. just stuck up in there in the air.
Make them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
All right. I'll give a really cool example. When I came back to the United States during a break while I was I came back for a vacation to visit my family, like I think 2 years ago. It was during that time Starbucks, the Starbucks baristas had to tell their customers about white privilege and about social injustice. Do you remember that whole thing with Starbucks?
I heard about that. Yes, definitely.
Okay, so this is right at the peak of that, and I'm with my father in a Starbucks, and my father goes, "Watch this." My dad goes to the barista, aren't you going to tell me about my white privilege? And the barista goes, "Please don't make me," because they're supposed to do it. And my father goes, No. I think everybody in here, which is it was a packed out Starbucks. I think everybody in here wants to hear about my white privilege or something of that matter. And everyone was like, yeah, tell them. It was really uncomfortable.
Wow.
Again, just throwing it back in their face,
That's amazing that shit has to happen in real life.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay.
Go on.
Yeah, it sounds like a fucking Twilight Zone episode, man. Doesn't make any sense. Every once in a while, I gotta wake up. Every once in a while, I wake up in the morning and I have to pinch myself after I read articles like this shit to make sure it's real. Am I really living in this world? It's fucked up, man.
Right. I know. Again, you have to also just as mad as we get over this bullshit, you gotta laugh at it also, at just the pure insanity, because these people don't live in reality.
No.
They live in a world of victimhood. They live in everyone's a victim. Everyone's a victim. So you know what I'm a victim to.
Yeah. And you got to fight over who's the biggest victim. Who's the biggest victim?
Oh, I like that. So I can bring up the fact that my great-grandfather was an illegal immigrant.
Yeah.
Right? And let's face facts, guys. Everybody in there, if you live in America, there's someone in your family tree that was an illegal immigrant at one point or another. Okay? Mm-hmm. Especially with the Irish, especially with the Italians. Okay? We all have someone in the family tree that was here illegally. So I could just throw that one out too. I can just throw out the fact, my great-grandfather came here illegally. Where's my reparations? Right? Or I could bring up that my other great-grandfather dropped dead of a heart attack working at the Brooklyn Navy Yard at the age of 35. Mm-hmm. I want my reparations for that, right? No. So you can just keep going on and on and on and on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anybody could trace themselves back to a point where they could be considered a victim and someone to praise for their courage, But these people, these Marxists that are coming out of these universities and colleges today, they are, like we said, they're absolutely out of reality. They don't exist in the real world. And again, that's why you have to be entertained by it to some degree.
You do. And that is one of the good things about Trump. But, Trump's great. There are some bad things about Trump. We can get into that later. Mm-hmm. But, the big issue that I find is that people like you and me, Ayam, that there's no larger platform for us to engage on, right? So the left dominates the mainstream media. They dominate all the major online websites, the forums. I mean, if you drop certain alt-right or MGTOW or men rights activists into a Google search, the first page is going to be lit up with people hating on them.
Absolutely. And that goes to,
which is a problem.
It is a problem, and that goes to anybody that is a part of social media, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Facebook. I mean, these main platforms. We originally looked at these platforms as this incredible leap forward in communication, sharing of ideas, free thinking, and free speech. But but that's completely backwards today, because you can watch thousands and thousands of different uploaders on YouTube, on Twitter, and so forth that tend to lean a little bit more to the right instead of the left in their political thinking. And on every single one of those platforms. And I'm not talking about like an alt-right extremist. I'm just talking about anybody that whose mind drifts a little, slants a little bit to the right. You're singled out and you're censored. And it's
right.
and it's real, man. Like I've been a victim of it myself, and it's absolutely real. You don't need to show gore porn on Facebook to get banned. All you have to do is say, hey, guess what? It's okay to be white. Right? It's that simple. And if you can't, and that's just a red flag for who is controlling the social media. So for people like, go ahead.
Well, that's a bit strange. It's a bit strange how it's a problem when it's a group of white people, right? It's a problem when it's a white neighborhood. You know, this white neighborhood. You know, this is a problem that it's all white. Well, what about the black neighborhood? What about the Hispanic neighborhood? How come they're not a problem? You know, why can't they be enriched in diversity? Why is it the white neighborhood's got to be enriched in diversity? So you see the hypocrisy right there.
Mm-hmm.
You see, you know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. You cannot. Their philosophies cannot stand without. It has to lay on a bed of hypocrisy, because it is rules for thee, but not for me. It has to live. It cannot exist unless it's on a bed of hypocrisy, and that's also their weakness, and that's also what will undermine them, and that's what's undermined every leftist Marxist philosophy throughout recorded history.
Is the hypocrisy?
It's the hypocrisy.
This reminds me, and I recommend anybody Google searching this. Look up the socialist phenomenon. Okay, if you drop that into Google search, you're going to get a writing from a Soviet Union mathematician, and he points out the hypocrisy of being in the Soviet Union. And one of the things he wrote about was that Trotsky and Lenin used to sit and I guess they would drink alcohol, and they used to debate back and forth on how far left should we go. So Trotsky said, okay, I think everybody should be housed in a dormitory. Okay, and then Lenin says, well, if they're in a dormitory, are they going to have their own individual rooms? Trotsky would say, no, that's not fair. Why should each individual get their own room? How about everybody is out in the open? Well, what about bathrooms? No. It should be all out in the open. The kitchen out in the open, the bathroom out in the open. Well, what about wives and spouses? No. It's got to be communal. Everyone gets to share their wives. The children are raised by the collective, not by the nuclear family. And that's what Trotsky and Lenin used to fight and argue over, on how far should we go with this. Is, you know, housing is a perfect example of the two of them getting arguing over.
Mm-hmm. And it reminds me a lot of what I've been reading in that Culture of Critique, the book you sent me. And to me, that is. And if any of you guys have a chance, look up Culture of Critique, download that book, find that book, buy it, whatever, and read it. But it's a very interesting retrospective on the Marxist movement throughout history. Forget who has been perpetuating it for most of this time. Just the movement itself, and it's built on hypocrisy. It's a house of cards. And you can see that in every aspect of our politics that is shoved down our throat. For example, the idea of global warming. Who was the main voice for that in the decade past? What's his name? Al Gore?
Al Gore?
Yeah, Al Gore. Right. So here's Al Gore making this documentary. When was this? Like 15 years ago? And
yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while, right? I mean, it's fallen apart. It's absolutely destroyed and fallen apart. But at the time, he made fucking millions of dollars off of this bullshit, and pushed legislation to the point where now, where I live, if I exhale carbon dioxide, I pay a tax for it.
Correct.
And I tell a
so
joke.
So with that, so nothing is free. Because the last thing that was free on this planet Earth was oxygen, the air we breathe.
And now it's not free anymore.
And now that's even been taxed.
Yeah, you're taxed for breathing, for fuck's sake. And I always tell people as a joke, I'm like, because I didn't know there was a carbon tax when I came back to this province. It's in this province. It's not in the whole. It's not federal, provincial right now, because we've got leftists in control of the government in this province. But when I came back, I found out about it. It had just been put into place not long before I got back. And I joke with people and I say the only reason they didn't call it an oxygen tax is because they probably wouldn't have got away with it. So they call it a carbon tax because it's not a buzzword that people understand that might make go, hey, wait a second, you're charging us for oxygen? So instead they call it a carbon tax, and then everybody's like, okay, yeah, sure. So I joke and say we're being charged for breathing out because we exhale carbon. The next tax will be the oxygen tax because we've accepted this one. So we're only being charged for breathing out. The next step is being charged for breathing in. And then
I like that.
And that's the oxygen tax. And that, of course, that's going to come eventually. But the hypocrisy thing we're talking about in regards to this is Al Gore went on this huge tirade of oceans will rise by so many feet. And this should have happened like 5 years ago. Right, but it didn't. Right, polar ice will melt. All this shit was supposed to happen. None of it happened. And
well, hey, listen, AM. I don't know if you know, but it's climate change is hiding right now. Okay, you just don't know it. It's underneath the ocean. Okay, it's just sitting there.
Yes,
and that's the latest argument, by the way, but from climate change.
Yeah,
that it's hiding underneath the fucking ocean.
And I want people to understand that this is all the Marxist propaganda because it's only the left pushing this bullshit. All right? So, but the hypocrisy of it is that while he's claiming that within the next 5 years sea levels are going to rise by a foot or 2 feet or whatever the fuck he was saying, whatever bullshit he was saying, he was investing in fucking oceanside properties in San Francisco.
Well, that's unsustainable.
Absolutely. Or he was, or taking private jetliners zigzagging across the fucking planet. So this is what I mean.
To tell you to preach the good word about climate change.
Exactly. And this
someone's got to do it. I mean, come on. I mean, look. I mean, he's got to fly those jets. He's got to preach the good word.
Yeah. What's he gonna do? Paddle? Is he gonna paddle across the Atlantic?
Run. He's gonna inhale too much oxygen if that's the case.
Yeah, absolutely. If he runs, he's gonna be consuming oxygen and producing CO2. How can we thrive? I think all of us should just be glued to our seats.
Oh, and you know what? I think just because of your white privilege, you just kill yourself, and then we can use your body as a compost.
Well, we'll feed it to you. We'll feed it to the. We'll feed it to the people.
Green.
Yeah, so we'll feed it to the people that fall in line. Sit your ass.
Soylent Green is MGTOW conservatives.
Absolutely. Anyway, let's get into sexpatriatism. I want to.
I actually, to share this before we get into this, this topic. Ayam, I actually never really discussed this with you. I don't know what your experience was like in Indonesia as far as getting laid.
Well, just imagine what you've been through, and it's probably pretty much the same.
Okay, very good.
You're right, because we haven't actually talked about it personally for whatever reason. But yeah, just imagine what you've been through, and I'm sure it's pretty similar. Pretty similar. Okay,
that's good. So
the reason we agreed on this topic is because over the last couple episodes we've done, people have been like, hey, I like the stuff on expatriatism. It's very informative. Blah blah blah. So we're going to talk you a bit. We're going to enlighten you about sexpatriatism, which I don't. Okay, define it. Define it, Nick.
Well, a sexpatriate would be a sexpat. I was not a sexpatriate.
Neither was I.
If I'm looking at this as a pie chart. And the reasons why I moved to Cambodia, I would definitely say sex accounted for, I'd say 25 to 30%. It was a big chunk of it. I looked. Let me try to put it to you this way. At the time, I was 24, not getting laid, and I knew if I was going to do this and go to another country, I knew to do it at that when I was that age, 24, because the opportunity was probably not going to be there if I stayed in the States. One way of when I was looking at it was, look, these girls that work at the bars, they're all my age. They're all relatively between the ages of 18 and 30. I was 24. So I'm like, if I go there and all they're doing is banging a bunch of guys that are 60 fucking years old, and I come along at 24, right, hanging out with them, they're gonna fucking love me. It's gonna be like, they're gonna be like, wow, who's this young guy living in Phnom Penh, hanging out, buying us drinks and taking us home. So that was one way of when I was looking at it on why I wanted to move there. You know.
Really, that's amazing. Because I mean, I didn't really think about it on that level, right? When I
Oh no, I thought really critically thought about it.
Nice, nice. Because that's not a bad way to think, actually. And to be honest with you, and anybody listening, the experience of expatriatism is much better as a younger age. Don't do it when you're older. I mean, do it now.
Unless you're retired, unless you have a nice, you got a nice war chest. You know, I do plan on retiring and moving back over there. And I think you also would like to move back to Asia when you're older.
Yeah, I will definitely retire there. But that's what I meant, though, is I don't know if I would have done it if I hadn't had the experience when I was younger first, right? And that's the whole thing.
Yep, very true, yeah.
Do it when you're young so you get a layout. You kind of have a map. Spend a couple years. Just, I don't know, find a job overseas, or if you have enough money, just travel. Just travel very lightly. Be very a conservative traveler, and give yourself a couple years of experience. And that'll help prepare you for when you're older. When really, like, what else are you gonna do? Are you gonna, you're gonna just lay down and die?
Baseball games and barbecues.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Right.
So, so I mean, and me. Okay, I went to Indonesia. I moved the first time when I was 28 years old. All right. So I was a man in his prime, and I went with the best intentions. Right. The best of intentions. My intention was to.
What's that? Working for an NGO and preaching about carbon tax?
No, absolutely not. My intentions were of a more spiritual nature. You have to understand. So I wanted to explore this culture that I learned about and some of the spiritual sides of it. Not necessarily religious, because I didn't know very much about the economy or religious ideology of Indonesia at the time. I learned most of it while I was there. But I sort of had this kind of, I was drawn to the sort of spiritual side of what Indonesia was, because I'd read about it and learned about it in my own time here. So yeah, I had good intentions. But as a man in his prime going there, I mean, what do you think? I mean, you land in this country where you as an expatriate and a male are desirable to the women, the local women. You're automatically much more desirable than you are to women here. And then it just starts, everything changes at that point. You know what I mean?
Well, defining a sexpatriate, though, those are guys who are just there to get fucking laid. And I know quite a few of them.
Absolutely.
Where they're hell-bent. Again, we're talking about fasting. These guys are just sex maniacs.
Yeah.
I don't really believe in the notion of like being addicted to sex, but I mean, I have guys that were, if we plan on doing a motorcycle ride, cross country, they would be like, "Oh no, I gotta go get laid." I'm like, "What? Really? Let's go out. Let's go and fucking do something." No, I got 3 women coming over tomorrow, and I got the other 2 coming over the next day. So a lot of guys fall into this cycle, this vice cycle.
Yeah.
And it happens more often than not. And again, it's usually much older men. what happens is when guys get to a certain age, I think like maybe around past midlife crisis, maybe like 60, 70 years old, they want to have sex with women that are much, much younger than them in a way to try to capture their youth over again.
Yeah, it's sort of like
in my definition of a sex patriot.
It's like some kind of sex magic, right? Where they think that by fucking all these younger women, it's going to make them feel younger, maybe,
or make them younger,
or make them, yeah, maybe actually make them younger.
It's the same. It's the same way of men having a lot of children because it makes them feel immortal in a sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like I wasn't a sex patriot, but obviously I learned a lot about it while I was there because, I mean, I spent basically a large part of my adult life in that country. So I grew up in that country, right? I didn't grow up here. I grew up there. 28-year-old man to a 41-year-old man.
Yeah, you spent your entire 30s there. I mean, that's a huge portion of your adult life.
Yeah, I spent my entire 30s there. So I did get to see kind of the process that men go through, like, because I knew young men there. I knew a lot of young men there in the beginning, and then I knew a lot of older men there as I grew up and met new people, and let's put it this way: if you think that the culture of sex is sort of at some level here, we're very, North America is very conservative when it comes to the culture of sex.
Yeah, we're sexually immature.
Yes,
North Americans in general are sexually immature. They don't, it's oh my god, penis, oh my god.
Yeah,
women freak the fuck out. They're like deer. They get scared. They don't know how to just just kind of enjoy the ride.
Yeah. No, it is weird. Like if you, and that's the thing is, like, I think the experience for me was going there young and kind of just being overwhelmed with the concept of what it is to have sexual relationships in Asia compared to what it is in America. And shit, you can't discount what Marxist feminism has done to the sexuality of people in our countries. It's fucked it up. I mean,
the hyper sexualization between pornography, through rap music videos where it's twerking and just 60 inches of ass meat fucking flapping on the TV screen.
Oh yeah.
The hypersexualization actually desexualizes you. So when you see a woman dressed in scandalous clothing in the West, it doesn't really turn you on. Now, in Indonesia and in Cambodia, because it's a very conservative country, the women dress very modest. When you see a little bit of skin in those countries, you're like, damn, I want to see the rest of it,
Yeah.
So it kind of turns you on a little bit more versus in the West where it's just like, yeah, there's a pair of titties, yeah, there's a big ass,
Yeah, you're overexposed to it here. There's one of the things I noticed, a very strong cultural shift that I noticed after living there for about a year, because you really notice the differences quickly, right? I mean, it doesn't take time. Like you kind of get shocked into the differences. And one of the things I noticed is that media and television over there portrayed very little sex. There was very little sex or pornography or mild pornography within media.
You're not allowed, like, pornography is like a big no-no in Cambodia. I think there are laws stating you can't show any type of imagery in public of women in scandalous clothing and stuff.
Yeah, same in Indonesia. I mean, things are changing now, obviously, in both countries. But I mean, if I go back to 2002, 2003 when I first arrived, I was there. I was there to witness the very first publication of the Indonesian Playboy magazine. I saw it. I saw it and held a copy in my hand. And this was in about 2000 and, come on, let me guess here. Maybe 2004? Okay. 2003, 2004. I'd have to look it up to get the exact dates. But anyway, Playboy opened up an office in Jakarta. And it was big news. It was big news. Everybody was talking about it. And the office was not very far from where I was actually living at the time. And they published one issue. And I saw that issue. I held it in my hands. I didn't buy it because I wouldn't even know where to buy it because it was such a controversy. And after they had been opened and published one issue, which took a few months, a bunch of Muslims showed up at the office and threw rocks through the windows and threatened everybody's lives until they left the country.
Wow.
That was the end of fucking Playboy in Indonesia. It only took maybe 6 months. They landed, said they were there, published one magazine, and I saw the magazine. There wasn't one tit in that magazine. Not a single tit.
Was she in a hijab at least?
No, there was no hijabs, but it was
hijab with a fucking a cross up a vagina.
No, there was a little leg, little shoulder, and that's about it.
Ooh, was it a hairy leg?
That was it, man. I saw it. I looked at it, and I went, "What the fuck is this? Is this like a Sears catalog magazine?"
Right, and that's all the guys need to be stimulated versus in the States now where it's got to be snuff porn of her getting fucking pissed and shitted on. You know, you need, it's like chasing a high now. Like you got to, if the leg was one stage where, oh, now I see a leg. Now I want to see more. Now I want to see her get cummed on. Now I want to see her fucking get gangbanged. Then bukkake. Then it just keeps going on and on and on and on.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, that's a strong difference. And to the contrast of that was that, okay, the media, they didn't even allow kissing to be shown on public television. Like, you couldn't see a man and woman kiss. Can't. Not on television. I think even to today it's still the same. You can't. You will not see a broadcasted television show where a man and woman kiss. Okay? And at that time, even in the movies, the local movies they made, you couldn't see a man and woman kiss. And they were still editing out scenes from American movies where a man and woman kissed. They would actually cut it out of the film. You watch it in the theater. A man and woman kissing. But what they did show on the nightly news was horrible gore. Real gore.
That's the same in Cambodia, man. Wow, so they got that in Indonesia too, huh?
I think it's all Southeast Asia, man.
They love their gore. They love that shit.
Oh, are you kidding me? They love. I mean, and I'm talking real gore, not like in a movie. I'm talking like the nightly news. Look at this bus accident where 5 people were decapitated.
So they do that in Indonesia too.
Oh yeah, man.
Wow, that's wild.
It's all over Southeast Asia, man. So there'll be like a bus accident or something.
That shows you that. But okay, but that's now. That's the level of savagery. That's kind of like a silver lining. Mm-hmm. The undercurrent. That is Southeast Asia.
Yes.
And this is why it is very dangerous.
Yes.
Being a Westerner in Southeast Asia.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely right. I mean, human life is a lot more cheap there, and that's just a given. But that kind of contrast, like you can't show 2 people kissing on television, but you can show a horrible bus crash that happened 20 minutes ago and slowly pan over all the decapitated bodies.
Right. Disemboweled. Babies with missing arms.
Yeah. Yep. Babies crushed, skidded across highway. Like just the most horrible shit. They'll slowly pan over it. And every asshole will be glued to the television.
Yep.
Just looking at it like, wow, that's their porn. That's their porn.
I would have students, very beautiful, innocent young girls. You would think they were precious little flowers, honestly speaking, just like absolutely, for little creatures. And then I would, they'd be in the classroom and stuff, and I go, hey, what do you got? What are you looking at on your phone right there? And she's showing me again a motorcycle accident with someone with their head missing. I'm like, what the fuck are you looking at?
And they're all looking at it. You think if it was in America or Canada, they'd all be looking at a chick's tits in some video, but not there. They're glued to the TV for the gore porn. It's amazing.
Well, what do you think's do you think that has to do with just the history of these countries and why they like that stuff?
Absolutely,
That's the only thing I could think of.
it,
Yeah, it's definitely deep rooted in their history
it's in their
of
history.
violence.
Yeah, they have histories of violence. A lot of people see violence. I mean, I remember I remember watching a security guard in front of a shop beat a guy with a machete. I don't know why. You know, this was live. I was watching it live on the street. He pulled out a machete, and to solve his problem, he took his machete and started beating the guy. But he was beating him with the flat end of the blade, right? Like he wasn't cutting him.
Oh, then it's okay.
But he was really hitting him hard, like with the flat end of the blade. And I thought, wow, you know, that and you know, that's normal. That's normal, right?
But sex is bad.
Yeah, sex is horrible. You know, you don't show people kissing.
Gore and school buses full of preschoolers getting T-boned at 70 miles per hour. That's okay. You can put that on the nightly news.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's so that's a big difference. And I think when we talk about sex patriotism or sex patriots in these countries, these people are walking into a world where sex is it's taboo.
I was gonna say taboo. Yep.
It's very taboo. It's kind of on the lowdown. It's underground. You don't hear about it. Nobody's talking about it. But
it's there though.
It's
there.
It's absolutely there. And all it takes. And I'll give you a personal example. I was sitting down at a Circle K, close to my where I used to live. This was maybe 5-6 years ago. I don't remember exactly.
Well, what's a Circle K? Back up.
Circle K. It's a 7-Eleven. Don't they have Circle K's?
Okay.
In New York, they don't have Circle K's in New York.
No, we have Smile Mart and Kiwi Mart and Llama Mart in Cambodia.
Okay, Circle K is 7-Eleven, right? But it's an American franchise. It's an American franchise that made it into Southeast Asia. Anyway, so I'm sitting at a Circle K because I used to go there once in a while to just sit down and have a drink, and you could buy beer from there, and you could sit on the front and have a beer, right? It's like,
yeah.
And I remember sitting at the Circle K once having a couple of beer, and these like 4 young girls kind of showed up. I don't know what they were doing there, but they showed up, and I just kind of invited them to my table. Said, "Sit down. I'll buy you all the beer. Sit down and have a drink with me," right? And so I'm sitting at this table having a beer, sharing a beer with some chicks. They were all young. They were all probably like 18, 19 years old, and I'm sitting having a drink with them, talking with them, and a guy shows up who was. He shows up on a motorcycle, and he's kind of the guy that basically he watches the front of the store. He was involved in the parking and shit. You know, he had a gig that throwed him a few coins in the day, right? So he shows up, and I was kind of becoming a regular there. So he shows up, and then these chicks leave, but he saw me sitting down and talking with him and drinking, and he shows up and he goes, "Hey, I saw you sitting there with those chicks." He goes, "They're fucking horrible. Those chicks are horrible." He's like, they're ugly. He's like, "You want some real chicks?" I'm like, "Sure, okay. What do you got?" He's like, "Come with me." So, so, you know what? At that point, I was already pretty good at the language, so I was understand. You know, that's why I could talk to these chicks. That's why I could talk to this guy. And he takes me on this route. He goes, "I want to show you something." So I get on his bike one night. He's like, and I'm just like, "Okay, whatever, let's go." And he takes me through this maze of streets through kampungs, and a kampung in Indonesia is a village. It's just like the little suburbs of the city that you don't see, you know? Like you drive through the main streets, you see the city, but behind the walls of the city that you see as a tourist, there's like the maze of streets of poor people that live out there in the backs, right? He's driving me through this maze of streets, and he comes to this house, and there's this old guy there. I'm in a neighborhood. I'm just like in this normal Muslim neighborhood, where everybody's a Muslim for sure. And I'm in this little neighborhood. It's like driving out to your local neighborhood, maybe out in the suburbs of New York. Okay, very similar to that.
Right.
And he pulls up to this guy's house. This old guy is probably in his 40s, 50s. Little Indonesian guy shakes my hand. offers me a beer. I sit down drinking with him, and he's like, "Okay, do you want girls? I got girls." And that's this sort of subculture that lives in the heart of conservative Islam Jakarta, man, like that nobody sees. So all of
they don't have the radical. They don't have the radical feminists fucking saying that's immoral and you're taking advantage of poor women.
Yeah.
And you know, this is pure fucking patriarchy, that you can go and get your rocks off on non-reproductive fucking eggs.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, but the difference is, though, is those women that he's taking you to are considered damaged goods amongst the society.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, they're all, everybody's making a buck off of, they would all make a buck off me. Everybody, the guy that drove me there would make a buck. The guy that had the house.
Yeah, they're all getting a cut. Yeah.
Everybody's getting a cut, and it's all and it's just right in the middle of the neighborhood. Like of course the neighbors know. They just let it slide. It just happens, right? It's really bizarre. So when it comes to sex patriotism, there's a very strong veneer of you not seeing it as a regular tourist. So you either have to know what you're getting into when you arrive, or you have to figure it out on your own while you're there, and that takes time.
Well, when I was in I went traveling into the countryside of Cambodia, and I was always under the assumption when I moved there that there's probably way hotter and way cheaper chicks in the rural parts of the countryside. And I traveled a lot on my motorcycle into the provinces, but I would never ever see any place women to have sex with.
Yeah, like brothels.
And yeah, there's no brothels out in the provinces. So I'm like, what the fuck? Where are all these guys in the provinces have to have a place to go to meet up with.
There always is.
Right, there always is. So when I was in one province, and a tuk-tuk driver, which is a taxi driver, approached me and my two friends while we were having coffee, and he spoke fluent English. We were blown away how good this guy's English was. And
what was his story?
We started talking.
Did you ask him why?
Why did he speak good English? I forgot the reason why he spoke good English, but he was there for tourists and stuff. And again, it was in a very remote location that foreigners don't ever go to.
Right.
So we got to know him. He drove us around to some really cool spots, take pictures and stuff. And we asked him, like, "Hey, where the fuck are all the women?" And he starts smirking and laughing. He goes, "There's women for me, not for you."
Yeah, absolutely.
In these parts of the countryside.
Yeah.
So me and my friends look at each other like, damn it. So they are out here. We just can't fuck them.
Well, you got to speak the language, man. That's how you get in. As soon as you learn the language, that's what I found. I mean, as an expatriate, once I became fluent enough to have just general conversations with
it helps
with the
out
locals.
a lot. Yeah.
Oh God, like 1,000 doors open up for you. 1,000.
Yeah, correct.
And it's amazing because as an expatriate, if you want to pursue women over there, you are going to only be introduced to a very small portion of those women, and those are the women that speak English.
Right.
Those are the only women, and that's a very small percentage.
Yeah, you want the ones that don't speak English.
Absolutely, you want the ones that don't speak English. So, I guess I would say that anybody that's being an expatriate, if sex is your goal, then fucking bring a book and learn the language as fast as you can.
Well, I remember I got some really good stories about trying to find women over there. One time, one of my first friends that I made over there was a Canadian from the West Coast, and he spoke Cambodian fluently, and he knew where to go.
There you go.
And he came back for a quick visit because he wanted his daughter to see the mother. And he goes, "Nick, come and meet me at so-and-so location." And I knew where he was. There was this big floating barge on the Mekong, and it was like a dance club that was on a floating barge, which was really fucking cool. And there was just hordes and hordes of women, and the mama's son spoke good English. Mm-hmm. And my friend goes, "Do you want one of the chicks here?" And then again, they didn't speak English, but they kept wheeling about a dozen women, putting them in front of me. Oh, do you like this one or do you like that one? And again, you speak the language, it goes a long way. Another one was when I was in Vietnam. I was in a taxi in Vietnam, and it was really late at night. I just got done having dinner, and the taxi driver again spoke good English, and he goes, "Are you guys are you looking for chicks?" I was with my friend. I was actually with Sovereign. Sovereign came to visit me. And,
nice.
Yeah, and we were like, yeah, like, where are they? This city is dead right now. I mean, it was a weeknight and everything. And he goes, no, I got a great place for you. And again, he took us to an underground parking garage, and at the end of the parking garage was a large massage brothel. And it was really cool. Again, there was a slew of women. There were way more. I think it was like 50 women got brought out in front of us.
Oh, absolutely.
They gave us tea and something to eat, and then they gave us laser pointers, and we were able to pick with the laser pointer which girl we happen to like and choose.
Yeah, it's a beautiful experience. I mean, it's really sort of the feminist definition of patriarchy, really. I mean, it's women selling their goods and what they know how to do, and it's given to you in a fashion, in a lot of senses in these places, it's given to you in a fashion that you would never ever experience in the West.
It would be like Disney World.
Yeah.
For a man.
Yeah, it's the Disney World of sex. Southeast Asia is the Disney World of sexual encounters.
But I will say this, and I was very jaded. It comes a point where you start getting jaded with this stuff, like the fun of it, the novelty. It wears off.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
When you live there now.
Absolutely.
And when you start digging through it, and you start digesting what it is you're doing and stuff, you start to get a little bit like, your moral compass starts to change, and the pendulum or the moral compass swings back the other way, where it's like, this is like really bad what's going on around here. Yeah. And my moral compass swung back the other way when I went to Pattaya. Mm-hmm. And my friends told me, knowing the way I am and my personality, they were like, you're not going to like Pattaya. Knowing you and what you're about and stuff, you're not going to like Pattaya. I'm like, no, let me check it out and stuff. And it was Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah. And that's I want to add too, like if you go to Southeast Asia, you will see this veneer of sort of like religion and holiness and so forth, spirituality, and there's this veneer for
but it's godless. Remember, it's Buddhist. It's not an Abrahamic faith, guys.
It's not an Abrahamic.
And I try telling a lot of people when I moved back to New York, when they ask me, to kind of sum up Southeast Asia, again, I refer to, if I had one word, it's the word pig. But I will say that it's a godless society. I have
if you want to see
stories of women getting trafficked and stuff.
If you want to see the worst capacity of humanity, you're not going to see it in the West. You're not going to see it in these in cultures like our own, developed countries, developed nations, first world nations. Currently, right now, you're not going to see that.
Right now, 10 years from now, it might be singing a different tune.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. 10 years from now, maybe, like Nick said, you might be singing a different tune. However, if you want to see the most depraved shit that can exist, you want to go to these places, because it's not on their fucking brochures, but it's there. And eventually you'll find, these crevices, and it's absolutely incredible. And I was always shocked by the dichotomy of the fact that I was in the most populous Muslim country in the world. Yet I was able to drive 5 minutes into a suburb and watch the neighborhood uncle pimp out all the girls around him. Like, it's fucking incredible, man.
But think of it like this. I'll give you a rough example of what it's like in Cambodia. A lot of the men don't work. They don't fucking work. So at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday, you'll see all the coffee shops full of middle-aged men who should be, in fact, fucking working.
But they don't.
Right? And you're going to start asking you're going to start asking yourself after being there for a little while, why are these guys not working? Okay, and I'm talking a lot of guys not fucking working, dude.
Yeah.
It's a plight of unemployed fucking middle-aged men not working, and all they're doing is sitting coffee, gossiping, reading the newspaper, and chain smoking, right?
Yeah.
And they'll be there for 3 to 4 hours in the same coffee shop with the same group of guys. Yeah. And you're going to start asking yourself, why are these guys not working? Well, what happens is these guys have daughters.
Yep.
Okay. And
daughters and sons. They have children.
Right. What they'll do is they'll start exchanging information. Well, you want to have sex with my daughter? All right, give me. Oh, well, she's a virgin. So I'll tell you what. If you want to fuck my virgin daughter, give me like $3,000.
Yeah.
Okay. So if, this way, if you gave me $3,000, I can sit in this coffee shop for the next 6 months to a year. That
Probably
I don't have to work,
more than that.
right?
Probably.
Maybe even longer than that. And 50 cents a coffee. So yeah, he can sit there all day fucking long.
Yeah.
Or furthermore, is it they'll pawn them off on their brothers or cousins.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Oh, my brother wants to have sex with my daughter. Well, listen, brother. I tell you what. Cut your land in half. Give me half a plot of your land.
Yeah.
And I'll let you have sex with my daughter.
Oh,
right?
it's absolutely the same.
Pretty much what it's like. As far as that shit goes.
It's the same in Bali. It's the same in Bali, Java. If you go out of the cities into the countryside, it's the same in Indonesia. It's the same in Java. It's the same in Bali. It's the same in it's the same in pretty much any island on there. Maybe not all of them. They're a little bit different, but
probably worse than the islands.
No, but it's all islands there. But it depends on the island. I mean,
the smaller ones.
Yeah, the smaller ones probably worse. And
the browner they are, the worse it is for them.
And this is the thing. This is what Trump was calling shithole countries. I mean, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
I mean,
good way. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's a reason for that because a lot of their moralities, or where we would measure their concepts of morality, if we measured them compared to ours, they would fall very short, and we'd probably be disgusted and appalled. And I've been through that experience many times. You'd
be horrified.
Horrified,
fucking
yeah,
horrified.
Absolutely horrified. Things that are normal to them, to us, are horrifying. Like you'd be like, how could you dare do that? And they do it. Like I said.
And let me already say something right here.
Cool.
There's this shit that all these fucking MGTOW guys telling you how glorifying Thailand, glorifying women of Southeast Asia. There's the shit they'll never fucking tell you on what really fucking goes on in these countries. So when you listen to these channels telling you to go move over there, exposed to, it's not a joke. Ayam, I don't know how many dead people you got to see over there, but for me, the body count was about a dozen for me.
A few, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a different experience.
Right?
Yeah.
I'll share another story, and I can't believe I'm gonna fucking. I don't tell anybody this one. So,
well,
about 2 years ago, it was actually an NGO that was handing out flyers to young women, saying if the cops stop you or whatever, just start running. Okay, the cops started pushing this new law. If there's any woman, young girl, who looks like a prostitute.
You just have to be
herself,
dressed or makeup, maybe.
We're taking, you're just semi-dressed up and walking alone. The key's walking alone and dressed somewhat like a prostitute. That could be anything. It was just a really vague definition. Okay, they just wanted to see a single young woman walking by herself, going to the market, even going to school for that matter. And what the cops would do would round up these women that just looked like prostitutes to them, what they think is the definition of a prostitute. They would take them to the outskirts of the city and give the girls one phone call to get them out of the jail. Okay, if no one was to pick up that phone, they would get sent to another, I guess not a camp, but a detention center. Again, further outside the city. So there's 2 detention centers. One that was kind of inside the city, and then there was another one further outside the city, like 10 or 15 kilometers outside the city. So they get one phone call to get them out of the detention center that's closer inside the city. If no one was to pick up that phone, you would get sent to the other detention center where they would all gangbang you and rape you, and then send you on your way.
Well,
So
at
what
least they
happened
live.
was-
At least they live.
They lived, right? So what happened was, my friend's girlfriend got picked up and got sent to the detention center, and she got the phone call, and he picked up and got her out of jail. And he a couple days later, he told me what happened. He filled me in on the whole story. He goes, "Do you want to go to the detention center and see where all these women are?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I want to see it." He says there's about like 100 to 150 girls in this detention center, right? I go, and all the women are running to the front of like the cage area and asking, "Can you tell them that you're my boyfriend to get me out of here?" All right. And they're all like, trying to like, "Please help me, get me out of here, help me," right? And naturally, I didn't help them. I couldn't take them fucking all with me, right?
Yep.
And
What do you do? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo?
right, yeah, exactly, right. So what happened was like a couple of weeks go by, and my friend's girlfriend gets picked up again, by the police again.
Wow.
This time though, he didn't pick up the phone, and she got sent to the detention center further outside the city. Get this, right?
Mm-hmm.
She broke out with the other girls out of this detention center, right? She runs back and gets back to my friend's apartment, and she's covered in mud, and she's with 3 of her friends also covered in fucking mud. And my friend goes, "What the fuck happened?" She explains, "I got sent to the second detention center because you didn't pick up the phone. And she's describing what happened is they all broke out. All the girls broke out. And because of the save face culture in Cambodia, the police pretended like they didn't break out of the jail and just let them loose. And just like, "Oh, I don't know where they went. Oh,
Yeah.
forget it. Never mind."
Well, the safe face is very Asian, definitely. All Asian is very safe face.
Right. So here it is, saving face. You let X amount of women escape the fucking jail cell.
No, we let them go.
They ran through the rice fields or whatever.
We
We let
let 'em
them
go.
out. We let them out.
We let them go. They were okay. We let them go.
Yeah, they're okay. Right.
We didn't fall asleep on the job. We're okay.
So there she's fucking, she got fucking like thorns on her legs. She's covered in fucking mud and shit. And she's with her friend, the same, not friends, but the group of girls that escaped with them. And the other story was my girlfriend's friend got trafficked up to China. She was promised $20,000 if you go to China. Well, she got to China. There was no $20,000.
No.
About a year later, she's making fucking frantic phone calls back to Cambodia,
Save me.
asking, "Can someone wire me money to get me out of here?" Because while she was up in China,
She's a slave.
She married the guy. Yeah, she married the Chinese guy in like some fucking ass fuck land, mainland China. Not Shanghai.
No.
More like in the middle part.
Some fucking
And
some fucking
and,
shitty town in China.
yeah, right. So she asked someone to wire the fucking money because the guy goes, "Look, you're free to leave. How are you getting back home? You have no money." And that was his ability to keep her around.
Yeah, there's nothing she could do. There's nothing she could do. There's nothing she could do legally either. I want to break this up by going through. MGTOW asked some questions in the chat here.
Here you go.
First one was question: how similar are Bahasa Malay and Bahasa Indonesia? Would you be able to integrate? Yes, Bahasa Malay and Bahasa Indonesia are very similar. In fact, the difference between the two are the differences between American English and British English. So you can piggyback the language and be able to speak, because I've done it. So in Malaysia, yes, you can get away with poor Indonesian in Malaysia and still communicate. All right. The other one, Rico asks you, Nick, about what do you mean by the body count? I saw the body count you said in your storytelling.
Oh, I saw how many dead people did you see?
Yeah, he saw people dead, and I seen it too. And actually, most of my experiences was with traffic accidents,
Yeah, half of them were traffic accidents. Yeah.
And then there's obviously other things that happen. I remember when I was in Bali, the French Canadian guy, who was an MMA fighter, it was big news.
Oh, that's a great story.
Oh, it was big news too, because everybody
come at me, bro.
Because the Indonesians love the Southeast Asians love it. A story where a big white guy gets gunned down. They love it.
Yeah, they love that.
Oh, they love it.
Shit.
They love it. I remember when I was in Bali, and right in the neighborhood that I used to go to all the time, and he apparently was renting a place out in Sanur, maybe, I can't remember, and he came out. The video footage shows him standing on the front lawn of his place, and he was a big guy, big French guy, yelling at the police officers in French, I guess. And he was just surrounded by cops, just Balinese cops, just lazy fuckers that don't do anything all day. But the opportunity to pull out a gun and shoot a guy, fuck. I mean, that's a story over coffee for a decade, right? So he's out there kind of going, being loud. This is the video footage. And they showed it in live Technicolor. Him kind of going, get away, back off, and then bang, 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 bang. Every cop just emptying their clip.
He took like 20 shots before he went down.
They probably didn't hit him every time. That's what I'm thinking. It's like they probably very rarely get to fucking practice. They're too lazy to practice their shots. I'm pretty sure that these fucking Balinese cops never fire their fucking guns on a range, or rarely do. But here comes this fucking white guy. Let's shoot him. So they fucking
come at me, bro. I remember him saying that. Come at me, bro.
Yeah. And then they just fucking emptied their clips. And yeah, if you see the footage, it looked like they shot him 1,000 times. But I bet you most of those bullets missed.
I got pictures of his body afterwards. He was littered in bullets.
Really? Eh? Okay. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, he was fucking littered. He was fucking lit up.
That happened when I was there, and I saw it, and I'm like, yeah, okay. Fuck. I mean, it reminds you of where you are, right? It's like.
What about the Bali 9? Were you there for the Bali 9?
The Bali 9. Are you talking about the drug mules?
Yeah.
I wasn't there for the Bali 9 in Bali, but I was in Indonesia, but not in Bali.
Right, but was that story big?
Oh, it's huge.
The Bali 9
it was
story.
Huge. It's absolutely huge. Yeah. And
I actually did a little bit of research because I wanted to know the detention center they were staying at in Indonesia. Holy shit, dude. Holy shit. It's in the middle of a jungle on a remote island.
Yeah. Well, wait, hold on a second. Before we get into Bali 9, the next one was money is the true morality compass. People always demonize the rich. Looking at those poor is pretty eye-opening. Yeah, money is a morality compass. Like, okay, MGTOW is saying if you're rich, in my opinion, if you're rich, you can hide your morality flaws. But these poor people in these poor countries, in these quote-unquote shithole countries, like their low level of morality is in your face, and it's accepted. It just becomes part of the culture.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
And then Rico,
make no mistake.
Oh yeah, we're getting there. That's the sad thing. It's like most of these shithole countries look up to us as some kind of moral compass. I mean, if you've been an expatriate, like I was
at one time, again, not even that long ago, pre-Obama, you know?
Pre-Obama. Obama destroyed everything when it came to that.
Obama really fucked everything up, man.
Obama destroyed all faith in these shithole countries with the United States. They lost all respect, completely.
He made us look like a bitch in front of other nations. He brought the faggot agenda full force and swinging.
Yep.
Racked up our debt. I mean, he
created the race divide, like blacks versus whites in America.
Well, now what is it? It's Democrat is everything not white.
Yeah, incredible.
And Republican is now white. So nice going. So now you have a huge split in political parties based on ethnic grounds.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. And that was a drive for him to push for Democratic votes. Hey, let's get Democratic votes by dividing the nation in half between black and white. And that's Obama's legend. That's what he did.
Yeah, wonderful legacy.
Beautiful legacy. What a fucking cunt. And there's a special thing for me when it comes to Obama, because while I was in Indonesia, he got elected. And he had this history, this created fake history of being in Indonesia, because apparently his mother worked for the Ford Foundation and fled to Indonesia after her Kenyan husband fucked her and dropped her.
So they say. That's even
so they
really
say it's not. I don't even think it's fucking true. But anyway, this is the narrative. You know, they even built a little statue of little Obama in his school in Jakarta, and I've seen it. It's fucked up.
Did you grope it?
No, I didn't grope it.
Well, you know, Trump gropes the Wailing Wall.
Maybe I'll go. Maybe if I go back there in the summer, I will grope it, and I'll take a picture of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what were some of the other things that? I don't. You didn't get to go to Pattaya, right?
To it? Where? What?
Pattaya, Thailand.
No, I didn't. No.
Dude, it's a really just a sad place. I mean, it was bad. If you really want to see like the worst, go to Pattaya daytime. Don't go at nighttime. Go to Pattaya during the day, and you'll see how bad it is.
The light
lonely
is revealing.
Lost. Yeah. Oh yeah. Good way of putting it, man.
Oh, yeah.
That's a very good way of putting it. Because the daytime in Pattaya, it's kind of like the lull before the decadence.
Allah.
Right. So it's really hot. It's a nasty environment. It smells like shit all over the fucking place too. The guest house I see sheets, and it's got fucking lipstick fucking smears all over the fucking bed sheets.
Christ.
So I'm like, oh my
no,
God,
I've seen that shit. I've seen that shit before, man. Yeah, I've stayed in cheap hotels.
It's got these. It's a lot of debauched British old men that are just drinking during the day, and again waiting for the nighttime to come, where it looks like a fucked up Disney World.
Yeah.
On Walking Street, and it's all Indian dudes. I just could not believe the amount of it's packed.
Bobs and vagines.
Indian men.
Bobs and vagines. Send Bobs and vagines. There's tons of Indians over there, man. All over Southeast Asia.
And all they're doing, they want 20 Indian guys. They're going to pool all their money together to go bang just one chick.
Yeah.
And then they'll
toss her around.
One chick over and over and over again and toss her around.
Well, that's how you save money. That's how they save money. And they all get their dicky sticky.
Right. And it was just really nasty to see all those dudes just, going after one chick, walking around, and they're very immoral. Those type of guys. They're broke. They have no money, so each of them pool like $2 together.
Well, they're not broke.
And then they try cutting a deal.
They're not broke. They come from a culture.
They have no money.
Well, they do have money, but they come from a culture of what do you call it? Like, they're very tight with their money. They come from a culture of being very frugal, let's say, with their money. So
what guys, Hindi men?
Yeah, they could all. I guarantee you, every one of those Indian men could have bought their own fucking hooker. Guarantee you, but they won't.
It's possible. Yeah, you're probably right. They're probably like they're okay with gangbangs and shit.
No, that's how they save their money, man. It's like it's a part of the culture there. It's like how they're very.
Disgusting.
It is disgusting, but that's how it works. And I've seen that in Indonesia as well. There are certain islands like Batam where the Indians have a lot of money invested, and they have companies there, and they do the same thing, man. Exact same thing. Rico's saying, what country do you recommend? You know what? I wouldn't know what to recommend. Depends on what you want. I mean,
yeah,
all of them have mountainous spaces.
The way of looking at it like this is, you're going to go to the country that fits your personality. And that's the country you're going to thrive in. So it could be Croatia, could be Italy, could be any country, really.
Yeah. Well, if we're talking about Southeast Asia, and for the benefits that it might give you. Like, let's be honest here. Let's go with Southeast Asia, because I mean, that's where sexpatriatism is in full swing. But also there are mountainous passes you can take a motorbike and drive around. I mean, when I was living in Bali, just driving around on a motorcycle across that island was incredible. It was fantastic. It was incredible. So, you know, if that's what you're looking for, basically take sex out of the equation. That's just a little bonus, maybe. But for the most part, anywhere in Southeast Asia is very beautiful. It's a beautiful place to view and travel.
Vietnam is beautiful, but it's a good place to visit. I was contemplating moving to Vietnam, but I think the culture is way too serious and not a happy, fun group of people to be around.
Right. Well, you got to keep that in mind, and also you have to keep in mind laws when it comes to visas. That's a big thing. I know that MGTOW Expat promotes Cambodia a lot because of that. That they have this very, very lax laws for foreigners to come there for visas. Like a year-long visa, that's fucking unheard of. But if
you get a year-long.
Does Cambodia still have it?
Yep.
Wow, that's incredible. Like, you're not. There's very few places you're going to get a year-long visa. Indonesia is not good for visas. It's good for It's good for travel when it comes to scenery and people and just experience, but just longevity, it's not very good at all.
You're going to lose years off your life living there. There's no question in my fucking mind that I probably knocked at least 2 years off my lifespan because of living there.
I lived there for 13. I know I knocked 5 years off my life easily.
You knocked at least 5 years off.
At least 5 years.
You're going to be dead by you'll be dead in your 70s.
Statistically, I should live to 78. I probably might make 71. Because I lived there.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, because I lived there for so long.
You're going to have to detox the shit out of your body.
And that's a huge fucking undertaking, man. So I just have to live with the fact.
Back up. Go on.
No, I just said I was going to have to live with the fact that, I'm gonna have a shorter lifespan because I spent that much time there.
Yeah, I mean, I had diarrhea at least once or twice a week. I had food poisoning one time that definitely would have killed someone over the age of 50. That was pretty scary. And then motorcycle accidents, man. I found out when I just went back those 2 weeks, Ayam, the person who bought my motorcycle killed himself 2 days later after I sold him the bike.
Oh, Christ.
So, this is what you're up against, man. Yeah. And I also just found out that half the expat deaths in Cambodia go underreported. And I found that out when I went back. Mm-hmm. Because what you get in the media and the news as far as foreigners dying,
you'll never get straight
to the bodies that they not just found, but they reported to the police.
Yeah.
And there are times where there have been foreigners who die inside guest houses. They don't want to report it because then they got to clean up the mess.
They clean up the mess, and it gives them attention. Wait, we don't want anybody to know that somebody died in our guest house.
Right.
So it's not going to happen. And Rico just said, why do you knock years off? It's pretty simple, man. You're living in a infrastructure that has very little knowledge or understanding or its own infrastructure when it comes to health and safety.
Right. They don't even know what the definition of infrastructure is.
No. I mean, like, there's what do we take for granted here in the West? Indoor plumbing,
Clorox,
bleach, indoor plumbing, right? Perhaps that's another thing. Just general cleanliness, a general dislike for violence. Maybe we tend to want to be honest about keeping statistics. How about driving licenses? If you're
oh, you know what the big one now is? children driving cars are now the big thing in
Yeah,
Cambodia.
well, it's the
So while I
same-
was there,
Yeah.
there's like an 11-year-old driving a fucking Lexus truck. I go, what the fuck is going on? This is the new fad now.
No, I'm serious. Yeah, I was just about to say driving license. Like I could drive there. All I had to do was just fucking get on a bike and drive. Nobody tested me.
I drove 6 months without a license plate just to see if anything would happen.
Nah, they don't care. You know, I remember in Bali driving around. I didn't have a license to drive, but all I had to do was have $50 a month to rent a bike, and then I could drive anywhere I wanted. And if I got pulled, I got pulled over one time because, and it's so funny because my helmet was stolen. Somebody stole my helmet off my bike. All right, I put my helmet.
Almost 3, so don't feel too bad.
Yeah, so someone stole my helmet off my bike, and my friend was in Bali at the time, and I said, hey, and I had to go to the airport for a fucking visa run, and I said to my friend, hey, can I come by your place and borrow your helmet for a night, because I don't want to drive all the way to the airport without a helmet. You know, I don't want that kind of shit. So I'm on my way to his place, which is maybe like 10-minute drive, right? And I had to stop. I stop at this big red light, and to my left is a little police hut on the corner where there's a police officer sitting in there having his fucking coffee and smoking his goddamn cigarettes. He sees me sitting there waiting for the light without a helmet. He comes out and goes, "No, man, you come over here." I'm like, fuck. I was 2 minutes away from my destination to pick up a helmet, right? I walk over there, and I speak his language, so I'm just talking to him. I'm trying to like talk my way out of it. And he basically goes, "Well, how much money do you have in your wallet?" And I said, "Look, I got $200, but I need that money, man. Like I got to go to the airport tomorrow. I have to fly to Singapore and come back. I need that money." He's like, "Okay, just give me $100." Right? And I'm like, because he tried to pretend. He's like, "I'm going to have to write you a ticket." Right? And he's like, he pulls out this book, this full book of tickets, and he pretends to get ready to write on it. And he's like, "I'm going to write this ticket for you." And then he stops. He goes, "Dude, what do you got in your wallet?" Because he's like, "If I write you this ticket, then you're going to have to go to court and pay this and this and this, or just give me half what you got in your wallet." I'm like, holy fuck, man. Okay, there you go. There's half of what I got. Let me go. Right? So it's like this.
Wait, so how much did it cost you? It cost you $100?
No, it didn't cost me. It cost me about $50 in the end. I talked.
Oh my god, it's $1, $2 in Cambodia, man.
Yeah, it cost me about $50. I talked my way down to about
expensive.
$50. That is expensive, man. It's very expensive. But this is Bali. It's not Jakarta. Bali is the tourist trap of Southeast Asia. Everybody goes to Bali. So my choice was either just pay the $50, or I guess have the guy put me in handcuffs.
Oh, if you're already at the police station, it's already too late.
Yeah, it's too late, man. It's done.
It's already too late.
And
That
that's how it
$50
works.
just turned into $1,000 just because you went to the police station.
Exactly. So it's like, okay, I'll give you the $50. I knew where I was. I was in Bali, and this is the funny thing is like my first instinct was to fight, and the reason is because I spent most of my time in Jakarta, in Java, where that doesn't happen. In the most populous city in the country, I could have talked my way out of it, or paid maybe $5-10 easily.
Okay, right.
But now I'm in Bali, where I hate Bali. These people are so addicted to their tourist culture. They'll stick their finger right up your asshole and go, "Come on, pay me the $50,000, or you're going to jail, motherfucker." So at that point, I talked my way down as best I could. I would have had to pay $100. I paid $50, so I was pretty happy about that. That would never have happened in Jakarta, never.
Talking about cleanliness, I used to go to this wet market, which is an outdoor market that's covered with umbrellas and stuff, and I always get soup. I would get Vietnamese soup every morning from this one place. Really popular little place to get soup. Everyone goes there. It was great soup, and I would go there all the time. One day, she there's a case of meat, a little cabinet sitting on in front of me. So you sit on a stool, and then there's a case of meat, and you pick what meat you want. This is about maybe like the 100th time me going there to eat. She goes, "What do you want to eat today? You want meat? You want chicken? You want pork? You want beef? You want seafood?" And as I'm pointing to what I want, cockroaches run across the fucking meat.
Mm-hmm. Oh shit! Yeah. And then you're like, "Nah, I don't want that."
And that was the end of it, right? So I've been eating there 100 times. God only knows how many times a cockroach defecated on my food.
Oh God. Yeah, you never know, man. But that's when I came back to Canada. I remember people like, "You should get your flu shots. Come get your flu shots. It's the flu season. Get your flu shots." I'm like, "Fuck that shit, man. I lived in the jungle for 13 years."
Right? Yeah. Like, it's all over the paper now with the flu shots.
I was turning it down. I'm like, I'm not getting my fucking flu shot. I was in the jungle for 13 years. There's no flu that's going to affect me.
There is something nefarious behind the whole flu shot agenda, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And maybe that's something we should get into at some point. But hey, do you want to drift into? We can go for another 30 minutes or so. Do you want to drift into Palestine?
Well, we could stay on this topic because I wanted to discuss a little bit more about what is happening now in Asia with much older men moving there.
Well, let's stay here then. Let's stay here then. And if we're gonna stay here, hold on. If we're gonna stay here, let me go back to the chat room because it's getting lit up with some stuff. Hold on. Oh shit, we got all sorts of stuff. Everybody's talking now. What the fuck's going on? Latin America's too violent.
Yeah, Latin America too violent.
The ironies of what we didn't have. We're coming back to that. In Brazil, considered Latin America? If so, the violent stuff is overblown. Just don't be stupid. Chicks definitely aren't ugly there. I don't know about Latin America. I haven't traveled there extensively. I do have a friend who has that I might try and get on this channel. In the near future, if he's willing to, that could tell you everything you need to know about Latin America as an expatriate, which would be good. Why do you knock ears off? We already talked about that. Yeah, air pollution, walking down the streets. Look, if you're in a shithole country, as Trump apparently said, you do have to watch out for that shit. You got to watch out for holes. I remember my first year in Indonesia walking down the quote unquote public sidewalk, and there was a giant fucking hole that you just fall into. You there, Nick?
And what's worse is when it's monsoon season and the streets are flooded, you don't know where the holes are anymore. Now, if you were to fall, cut your leg in the water that's got feces in it, you may lose a fucking you may be an amputee at that point.
You're done, man. At that point, you're done. If you don't drown, if you don't fall into like a bottomless hole and drown, and then just eventually your bloated body just floats up out of the sewers, and people go, "Oh, look, another white guy died."
Yeah, a crazy thing happened to me while I was over there was there was a pink eye outbreak in the capital city, and I know the left glorifies urban development, how great it is to live in a mega city. Well, when you have that many people living on top of each other, you're much more prone to epidemics.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's something that no one ever discusses. You know, when you're in the suburbs or in a rural area, you don't see another person. You don't get contact. You know, illnesses with other people. You know, what's it, pathological diseases. You're not catching anything from anybody else. When you're living on top of everybody,
Yes.
especially in a country that doesn't believe in bleach and cleaning, it becomes a huge fucking problem. So while I was in Cambodia, there was a pink eye epidemic. What is pink eye? That's from feces.
Yeah.
So what happens is when the water
There's
rises
shit.
in the city, it's human shit
Yeah.
and urine and garbage
Yeah.
and every fucking disgusting thing that you can imagine, floating around in a city. And the water dissipates.
Yeah.
And it dries really quick because how hot it is, and now it turns to dust.
Yeah. You're
So
breathing that
everyone's
shit in.
driving around on their motorcycles. Everyone's driving around on their motorcycles, and now you're kicking up the fucking the shit that was left
The
over
shit
when
flakes.
it was raining.
The shit
Well,
flakes.
Right. The shit flakes. Right. So a pink eye epidemic broke out. The city ran out of medicine for pink eye. So everybody in the city of Phnom Penh was wearing sunglasses for like a week straight.
This is why Asians wear fucking dust masks when they fly on planes. This is why they do it, because they understand. They're fucking paranoid. Rico says, "Can you? Where's my Canadian dollar go further? Vietnam, Cambodia, or Thailand? You know what? It's the same. It's almost the same. The exchange is nearly the same. The difference is very minute. I wouldn't.
Vietnam was I would think Vietnam was cheaper than the Cambodia is the most expensive actually.
Is it? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
the let's say Indonesia is about 50% of the dollar, so a dollar is 50 cents. At least it used to be. I don't know what it is now, but it's been better. It's been worse. It's been better. You got to keep your eye on the currency of wherever you want to go. Just keep your eye on it. Like if you want to go to Cambodia, look at the currency exchange compared to where you.
Well, they use U.S. dollars there.
Yeah, everybody uses U.S. dollars. Everybody. So just look. The U.S. dollar is worth this. What is it worth in Cambodia? Because it'll change. I mean, when I first went to Indonesia in 2002, it was 4 years after the fall of Suharto, and that was the buy-up of the national banks by the global banks. And the rupiah was worth shit. It was worth shit. It was like 14,000 to a dollar. So basically, a dollar was... An American dollar was like $15 when I first got there. But it changes quickly. It can change very, very fast. Agreed?
Yeah. Yep. So it changes. Everything's getting more expensive, regardless of there's not going to be that many cheap countries left at the rate we're going.
No.
There's going to be a leveling playing field across the globe as far as expenses and money goes.
If you have a nest egg of cash, I would suggest leaving now. I would suggest putting it somewhere where it's relatively safe and leaving now to become an expatriate in the country of your choosing and just praying to God. Pray to God. It all works out.
I would look at the Serb Slavic countries. I think that would be a really good choice. Croatia, Montenegro, Albania. Those places seem to be really cool to check out.
There you go. I mean, then that's solid advice. That's solid advice coming from people that have done it.
You forget South America, you'll get killed. You're just asking to get killed.
Yeah, don't go to South America. Trust me, don't go there.
But Brazil is really fucking dangerous.
Yeah.
Really dangerous.
Yeah.
They eat hearts there. Yeah. They disembowel people. Like it's not.
They sell hearts there. They sell them. They kill you and sell them.
Well, yeah, Malaysia. You know when they talk about human, the organ trafficking. You know, like you remember hearing stories. I remember hearing stories growing up that you'll wake up in a bathtub full of ice with a kidney missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Malaysia where that really comes from.
China. I thought it was China.
Well, they go to China. I think that's where the organs go to.
Okay. Well, world's a scary place. I I don't know.
I know. Then you get the leftists complaining about white privilege. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah, I know.
So what happens though? What happens though in Asia is that older men, and I discovered a YouTube channel because of you, Ayam. It's called Divorced MGTOW. I actually have his name. Give me a second.
Find it because I want to look that up again. I probably
Divorced MGTOW.
All right, I'm gonna look that up. Divorced MGTOW.
Divorced MGTOW Nation Live.
All right.
So this guy got fleeced from his Filipino girlfriend, right? And what is happening is these much older men are putting up a lot of money to take care of their Asian girlfriends.
Yeah.
And these Asian girlfriends all have real boyfriends.
Yeah.
I know this because I was that boyfriend.
Yeah.
Right? So currently these chicks are getting all this money from much older men. Most of them are divorced, and they're supporting their Asian honeys when they're back in their own home country.
Yeah.
And
Lame.
this is becoming a huge problem, because what happens is, especially in Thailand, is when they show up in Thailand to be with them, their boyfriends pretty much extort all the money out of them and then kill the old guys.
Oh, absolutely. I know Indonesian girls that are friends of mine. They don't speak a word of English, but I still communicate with them through WhatsApp, different applications. I communicate with them from time to time. And I remember this one girl said to me, "Hey, I got this message from this one guy. He's from here, and he wants this. Do you think it's like, what should I do?" And I'm just like, "It's fake.
Like what?
It's fake. You're a naive Indonesian girl. It's only going to lead to trouble." And I've got that message a few times. So,
They have a very, again, I don't know if anybody heard me say this in much older chats, they have a limited time horizon. So whatever you did for them in the past, whatever amount of money you gave them, if you bought them a home, if you bought them a motorbike, anything, they don't care.
no, they don't fucking
It's about what
care.
you can do for them right now. So I learned early on with my Cambodian girlfriend, I would try treating her like a Western woman. So I would take her out to eat. We would go
Mistake
on,
number one.
Right, exactly. Take her out to eat, go to nice places, spend time together. And when I would tell my expat friend what I was doing, he fucking hit me across the head. And he goes, "Stop everything you're doing."
Yeah.
He goes, "She doesn't care. She doesn't care about any of that stuff.
No.
Stop treating her like she's a white chick."
No, because they're not
And I
white
go,
chicks, man.
what should I do? He goes, "Just give her fucking money.
Just give her money
And tell me if it
and
makes,
tell her what to
if
do.
it makes any of a difference."
Yeah, just tell her what to do. It's very simple. Give her money, tell her what to do, and she'll do it. And she'll do it, and she'll be happy. You can even threaten her with violence. You can be the most horrible misogynist in the world. Raise your fist. Demand blowjobs. Do whatever you want. It's all acceptable. As long as you're
Right.
paying them something.
And she'll forget about it.
Of course she'll forget about it.
from the day before.
She won't even fucking care, man. They don't give a fuck. They're not going to go, "Oh, you know what? When I was with him a few weeks ago, I felt uncomfortable. And I want the
Right.
whole world to pretend like I'm a victim." Are you fucking kidding me? No, that will never happen. They don't give a fuck. Like, you could buy her a new phone. All right? Like, I've been
Doesn't
there.
matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Buy her a new phone. Spend, let's say you got a lot of money, and you meet this nice girl, and you buy her a phone. I want to buy you a phone because I want you to be able to call me anytime I want you to call me, right? That's your benefit for you. It's like, here's your phone. It costs you maybe what? Maybe $100, maybe less, maybe $50, $100. Here's a phone for her. She can call you anytime you want. You can meet up with her, do whatever you want. You can beat the shit out of her. It doesn't matter. Do you think that they're going to give a fuck? They don't care. They don't care. They're not going to go, well, this guy took advantage of me. There's no advantage. They know exactly what they're doing. Like, I don't have money. This man's giving it to me. I'm going to exploit this man for this money. And at the same time, she knows exactly that if you ever push her to a certain edge that you can't see, it's invisible to you, but if you push her over it, somebody's going to walk up to you in the middle of the night and stab you in the kidney, and you're going to be found in the ditch. It's pretty simple. And then you're going to be one of those guys on some, television show like, a Canadian man was found dead in a river in Cambodia. And that's it. That's your life. There you are.
Right, you're going to be the snuff video that the students are watching.
Yeah, they're all watching this. Look at this funny white guy floating in the river. Getting eaten by a crocodile.
Yeah, there's also the way they treat each other it's very bizarre. A good example was my first teaching gig. When I first got there, I taught English when I got there, and I got exposed to the culture. The worst of the culture very early on is that the schools are privatized, so they don't really value education very well. In talking about privatizing public schools and that we can talk about that another time. But when you privatize a school, it's profit driven. So it's not about the grades anymore. It's just about
most
keeping
of those
the
schools
students
are
happy.
Yeah, most of
yeah,
those schools
it's about more about keeping the students happy. So what they do is they do a teacher review during the semester, and the students usually write very negative, horrible things about you. But at the same time, the students are acting like they're your best friend. So at the end of each semester, the students throw up a class party, and they buy you gifts and take pictures with you and stuff. The day of the class party was the same day I received my review as a teacher, and they gave it to me right before I went into the class party. So as they're taking pictures with me and buying me pizza and acting like my best friend, I'm reading what these students who are celebrating a party with me, what they had to say about me, which is very disturbing, because here they are acting like they're really close to me and everything, but they completely bashed me on my performance review.
Of course they did. Of course.
Now, in America or in the West, if they didn't like you, it was overt. It's right in front of your face. Like, we fucking hate you. You're a piece of shit. In Asia, it's all smiles and happy.
It's all face.
Meanwhile, they're backstabbing you.
Yeah. It's all face.
They're backstabbing you.
Yeah.
It's all fake.
No, it's all face. Another thing, if you want, I don't know what it's like in South American countries with their cultures, but in Asia, and pretty much most of Asia, you're going to have to deal with face. You're going to have to deal with the fact that how they feel about you will never be 100% honest in real time. It just won't. It's not their culture. It's totally different. I work with Koreans today. This very day I work with Koreans. And I watch them go through that cultural exchange from day to day, because they work with each other. They don't, and I'm talking about 2018 Canada, Koreans, they don't show their hand. And I knew this from the beginning when I started working with them, so I understood that. But they don't show their hand. They're very about face. And
see, I find that to be a bit strange, considering it's a Muslim country.
I don't understand what you mean. Like, how?
Well, I would imagine the religion would change that type of mindset for an Asian.
It changes that mindset for very few people. Because you have to understand, when it comes to religion, people are looking for the religion that agrees with their cultural ideology first. So they always borrow. All cultures, they borrow from these religions. This is what works for us. This is what doesn't. So we'll ignore this.
We'll ignore that, right? Yeah, they're selective. Same thing with Christianity.
Absolutely, man. So they're like, we'll ignore this, but we'll accept this because this works with our culture. I mean, if you went through a historicity of Indonesia, it would be a bunch of island-dwelling, backwards people trying to understand first Hinduism and then Buddhism, or vice versa, and then Catholicism, and then Islam. That's their history, and they're just these island guys going like, oh, you got Hinduism, bring it in. We'll build some fucking
right. We'll build some Hindu temples.
We'll build some temples that in 100 years from now everybody will want to come and pay $20 to see. Right. and then Buddhism comes in, the same shit. Oh, here come the Christians. Oh, Jesus Christ is Lord. Okay, great. Let's build some churches. And then the Muslims come in. Like, it's the same shit, man.
Oh, now mind you, Angkor Wat, which is the world's largest temple, it's in Cambodia. Cambodians can go to Angkor Wat for free. Foreigners have to pay.
Yes, it's the same in Indonesia. One of the voted for, actually I think about 10 years ago there was a vote online for the eighth wonder of the world, and one of them was the Buddhist temple just out of Yogyakarta in central Java. This ancient Buddhist temple, which, or it might have been Hindu now I'm forgetting, but it was uncovered by the Dutch. In other words, when the Dutch came to occupy Indonesia 350 years ago, they walked through the jungle and go, hey guys, guess what? Look what we found. And they chopped away the trees, and they found this giant fucking Hindu temple in the middle of the jungle that was thousands of years old. This was the Dutch, right? And they go, hey, look what we found. And then, modern age, the Dutch are gone, the Portuguese are gone, the Japanese are gone. And if you want to go there and look at this incredible temple that the Dutch uncovered from the foliage of thousands of years of jungle that they cut down back in, I think, the 1800s, if you want to go see it and you're not Indonesian, you got to pay 3 times the price.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like $5 if you're Indonesian, but if you're not, it's like $20, because that's diversity and fairness, right?
Isn't that nice?
Come look at the eighth wonder of the world that our occupiers dug out from the jungle because we couldn't. Like, we didn't even know it was there.
Oh, dude, I got a fucking great one to tell you. So, now this is what, 3 weeks ago. I wanted to drive around, get some pictures while I was back in Cambodia, and there's this huge fucking abandoned boat. It's about 350, 400 feet long. It's half sunk up on the riverbank on the Mekong, and it's about 7 stories high. It was like a kind of like a hotel, floating hotel that goes up and down the Mekong, and it's half sunk now. Now, in order to get to this boat, I have to go through this like shanty town where it's all poor people that live in squalor in order to get to the boat, because they kind of put it in this location that's it's really hard to access. So I tell my friend, let's go and check it out. So we had to go through all this squalor, and through the squalor was human shit everywhere, flies,
absolutely,
rotting fruit, rotting garbage, the worst fucking garbage. Dude, it was so disgusting, but I was so determined to see it. So I'm trying to run through and make sure I don't step in any human shit to get to this fucking boat. So there is this fucking wood plank that runs right up into the side of the ship into a broken window for people to get in and out of. So, and then it's like a 15-foot drop into, I don't know what the fuck it is. I think it was raw sewage. So I tell my friend, like, we got to make sure we don't fall into this fucking raw sewage, because I don't know what that shit is.
No.
I don't know what's below.
I don't know how many open wounds I have on my body
Yo, I don't know
live.
I don't know. I don't have the vocabulary words to describe to you, to anybody listening to this, how gross it fucking was. But it was the worst. But I wanted to get onto this boat. So we get up to where the window is, all right? And there's this old, decrepit Cambodian woman. And she's like half drunk. And she's like the guardian of the fucking boat. And she's living on it. And she tells us $5. Prem dollar. Just like that. Like a fucking nasty, nasty savage. Prem dollar. And dude, me and my friend just turned right around. We walked away. She wanted to charge us $5 to get onto this old ass decrepit boat after we just walked through human fucking shit. The nerve of her. That this is the mindset. It's your privilege. It's your you should be grateful to give me $5 to come onto this fucking boat after you walk through such great human shit.
Well, this is it's just turning out to be a lesson in shithole countries. But really, expatriatism and sexpatriatism. Well, I want you people to understand that we were going to go into Palestine, but we might save that for another episode. I want you people to understand a little bit about what it is to be in these countries. And they are not. Look, if you want to go on a holiday, let's say you work 9 to 5 for years and you get paid holidays every year, and you want to take, I don't know, 21 days, 17 days, 21 days, and you want to go on a goddamn holiday where you're pampered and you're happy and you have to do jack shit. You're not going to go to fucking Southeast Asia. You're not going to go there.
Yes. It's not. You're not going skiing in the Alps.
No,
okay?
man. You're not going to fucking a club in Spain, right? If you're an American woman who wants to get her vag slammed 5,000 more times in a week with a bunch of Spanish DJs, like, it's not going to happen. Like, if you what?
I just on this topic, and before we end it, I want to ask you now: do you think it is healthy for men's personal, like, mental health to go and do those things? Do you think it's good for the mental health to go to Thailand, to go to Indonesia, Jakarta, and engage in sexpatriatism?
No, absolutely not. It is not good for your mental
I don't
health.
either.
No, absolutely not. I mean, going to those countries and trying to learn about them and being a part, and I don't know, learn the culture, learn the language, learn something different.
No, I'm talking sexual, because the topic was sexpatriatism.
Yeah.
What? Right. So going there and having sex with cheap brown skin whores. What is the bad thing? Let me ask you, what do you think is the bad connotation, the bad part of it for someone's mental health to do those things?
If you do that kind of shit, you're going to be introduced to some depravity that you didn't even know existed. First of all, like, you're going to see shit that you never thought about before. Like, really, a 12-year-old can get fucked in the ass by his neighbor, and this shit's going to come into your head, and you're going to go, what the fuck? It's going to challenge your concepts of morality, and you don't want that. You don't need that. Right?
You're going to be desensitized, and a lot of people can't handle it. And when they do start becoming desensitized, I think you start to become a little bit of a native.
Well,
in that regards. And,
you become the name,
the host country.
If you're in the host country, if you get that desensitized in that country, you become a name on a ledger somewhere that says white guy was angry, so we shot him in the head, and that's it. That's your life. That's the end of your life. Like, nobody knows. Like, your family will be like, hey, I wonder what happened to Bill. Like, your mom was crying, your dad's crying, and you're basically getting eaten by alligators in a river somewhere, right? Because nobody gives a shit about you there. That's the reality of it. Am I right?
The thing that I took away from it, was you want to talk about disposability? You now really are whatever it is you're paying for it.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. And that's actually a good
when
point.
you start bringing it back down to that level, when you're bringing it back down to that very hypergamous type of level, on top of the fact their limited time horizon, where they're not going to be thinking about you tomorrow, and they're not going to be thinking about you what you did for them before.
No.
And the concept of love is more based around how much you can support their family and how much you can support them, and how disposable you are. So, for example, let's say you fell in love with some Filipino chick, right? And okay, it's what, 20,000-30,000 to build a house in the provinces for her. Great, you think that's your house? It's not. It's now her family's house.
It's not your
and
house.
Guess what? You're gonna be sleeping outside, and her whole family's gonna be sleeping inside that house, and you're gonna be like, "What the fuck just happened? I bought this house."
Yeah, and then you're gonna
you bought her the house,
and then you're gonna think like, how can I make this better within the laws of the country I live in? And the police officers and the lawyers are gonna look at you, and they're gonna slowly form a fist, lubricate it, and shove it right up your ass. And they're gonna go, feel that? That's what you own. That's who you own.
Not only that, but you're gonna try figure out how do you make the situation better what you're gonna wind up doing is you're gonna be throwing more money at the fucking problem.
Yeah. Oh, of course you are. They're gonna be like, well, maybe you could hire a lawyer. That'll work, and then you're gonna keep throwing money, and then in the worst case scenario, if you're smart enough, you'll stop midway and you'll go, holy fuck, I'm killing myself, I need to leave. And that's a bailout. That's when you fucking run and you bail and you leave everything not important behind, right? And I mean, my situation was not like that, but I've seen people like that. And it's basically running for your life, because if you stay a second longer, you will be dead, and you will be a statistic that dies in a ditch. I don't know, maybe you got hit by a bus, maybe a bus rolled over, maybe you pissed somebody off and they stabbed you in the kidney. I don't know, but it doesn't matter, because
most of the violence while I was there was from other expats, and I discussed that with Luke when we first started chatting. It was the violence of other expats, because you have to understand that if you're an expatriate, and that's the country you choose to live in, you're not expatriating to France.
No.
Or a Dubai, right, or UAE. You're choosing the worst. The joke in America, I don't know if you're familiar with this, the joke in America, Southeast Asia is known as the asshole of the world in the United States.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to.
Well, let's look at this. The asshole of the world has some incredibly beautiful women and loose morals. And if you want a sexpatriate to that, then be my guest. But the cost is quite high. You got to be careful, because it's you. As long as you are there, you are a hair's breadth away from getting riddled with bullets from a policeman's gun.
Kevin Hardy uploaded a video, and I remember him telling me the story. It's on his YouTube channel. That he hears gunshots outside, and he's like, "What the hell's going on?" That the cops are trying to shoot someone, blindly shooting someone running across rooftops, running across rooftops right in front of his house.
Mm-hmm.
As they're trying to shoot, completely not even aiming right. There's another cop standing next to him, trying to grab the gun, and say, "Let me try shooting him."
and unfortunately, a mother's baby gets shot through the head.
Oh yeah, whatever. No one cares about that.
I got to take a piss. Keep talking to the people.
Disposable baby.
Keep talking to the people. I got to piss.
Yeah. So like, is it good for your mental health? The problem now for me is I don't. How do I describe it? coming back, and that's the way you were treated by women over there, it leaves you jaded coming back and dealing with women in your host country, in your home country. So now when I come back to America, is now I've taken on the persona and the kind of like the kind of the residue from being exposed to women in Southeast Asia, and somewhat applying that mentality to American women. It's kind of two negatives on a magnet. It just doesn't work. And when you're that disposable, where the women don't see you for who you are, for your personality, what you can provide for them, it really does hurt you as a man. And I don't really think it's a good thing for guys to do what it is that I did. I don't think it's really good for your mental health. The other thing that you have to understand is that for women that have sex for in Asia, it's hard for them. Let's say a lot of guys wind up, a lot of expats wind up dating these bar girls and pretty much prostitutes. That's what she is. Would you date a prostitute in your home country? No. Granted, it is much different, but the problem becomes that she can't shake the money part of it. If she's been a bar girl for more than 6 months, she's already been exposed. She's already been trained by the mama-san. She's already been trained by the girls that have been doing it longer than her, where when she starts dating you, she's going to look at it through a monetary lens, which is part of the problem.
Okay, I'm back. Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to discuss what it is like dating a bar girl and the problems that again, most guys that move over there wind up dating bar girls.
Yeah, you'll end up dating a bar girl because all you can speak is your own language. You can't actually integrate with women that don't speak English. And most women that do speak English in those countries, there is a monetary gain for them, and it comes through sex. And it comes through sex, either giving it or withholding it, or just being a woman, and that's something that is universal on the planet. But they're the fucking masters of it.
Right, they're very, very good.
They're very good, and because most of their men don't have money.
Right, but MGTOW says true bar girls are not the place to find women. Well, that's pretty much what you're gonna get.
That's all you're gonna get.
Right, that's what you're. Right, and also you gotta understand that the bar girls actually do like foreigners, and a lot of them don't like their own native men.
Yes.
The reason being is that guys from Western countries do tend to treat the men much better than the local guys. So, like,
and they give them more,
for example. Right.
They give them more. They give them a lot more. I mean,
of course, give them a lot more.
I mean,
and they give them space.
I was after my wife had left me, and I was like in a desperate search for my son. I drifted into trying to meet other women there, and it was just I learned very quickly that these women they're easy to manipulate because I have the money, but in the end they're manipulating me. And it's something.
As long as you know you're being manipulated, then I don't really have much of a problem. Like my girlfriend, like she obviously tried manipulating me, but I was 2 steps ahead of her. I'm like, yeah, I know what you're gonna do. You have to stay ahead of them. You can't be in like, no, she's not doing that. You can't. I'm trying to find the right words. You can't be in cognitive dissonance about it.
Yeah, no, you have to understand what's going on. And to be honest with you, I uncovered a whole different avenue of being a foreigner in the country that I was living, and learning the language, and actually seeing women and reading women and talking to women on their own level. And the only thing that changed was that they couldn't fucking bargain me for as much money. That's really what changed.
Well, I mean, the other thing was, while I was living there were times where I didn't pay for it. There were many times where I didn't have to pay for it because, again, you know what? They're women. They just want to be treated nice. Look,
They want to
When
fuck.
dealing with a bar girl, there are a lot of decent girls out there. There were really a lot of them were. I wouldn't call them friends, but you know, they're women, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes they just want to hang out. Sometimes they just want to chill. Sometimes they just want to laugh and
Yeah.
enjoy a good time.
Yeah.
And then of course there's the pros.
Yeah.
There are girls that are just completely pros and they know how to fleece you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a MGTOW expat married a Thai bar girl. He bought her a motorbike. Now he's just completely jaded about all women, right? You can't just paint the broad brush that she's just a bar girl, she's just this, that, and the other thing, because a lot of them are all different. And I used to take a lot of girls out. I used to take them to nice dinners and stuff. I think a lot of them did appreciate it, to the point where they would report back to the other bar girls saying, "Wow, he was a really nice guy." She would gossip, tell him about everything about me and stuff, and all the other girls would want to spend time with me.
That's a good point, and I want to say to anybody listening too that my because I spent the time in my almost 15 years of being there to actually learn the language. When I left, I still have friends that are females there that are civil. They're normal people. They're not bar girls. They're just normal people, and I still talk to them. Like, I still have conversations with them. They don't speak English. A lot of them don't, but I have conversations with them, and they're normal fucking people. So it's not unattainable. But if you're going there as an expatriate in the beginning, all you're going to get is bar girls. And
you're gonna have to be there for a while.
Yeah, you have to be there for a while, man. And honestly, you have to put some time into learning their language. Like, you have to. If it's important, you have to. You can't just like float around and like I still know people that have been there longer than me and don't speak the language. And I'm like, dude, learn it. Pick up a book. It's not hard. Read, listen, learn, and you get some rewards for that. If you want,
just know that a lot of these girls have someone bidding a much higher price than you.
Absolutely. If you're not,
usually a guy who's 60, a guy who's usually 20, 30 years older than you that's doing the bidding.
Yeah. If you don't have a lot of money, then what's the point? You know where you stand. I learned that a long time ago, man. Because when I first got there, I was 28. I was competing with fucking 6-year-old men that had lots of money. I had nothing. I had.
How are we looking at time? Is it 2 hours, or are we getting 3?
Hold on a second. We are at. Hold on.
If we're at 2.5, we should segue into Palestine.
Yeah, we're 2.5. Let's segue to Palestine. Okay, guys, we want to segue into Palestine.
We'll come back to this. I mean, this is a topic that won't die.
Yeah. Now, if we segue into Palestine, how do you want to do it?
Well, I want you to do your synopsis on what it is that you sent me.
Are you talking about the piece I wrote?
Let's talk about the piece you wrote, and then we can get into the concept of the conflict over there.
All right. The reason we called this chat Sexpatriates in Palestine is because we wanted to segue into Palestine, which is not necessarily a MGTOW issue, but we want to talk about it. And I wrote a piece about 8 years ago called "A Case Against Israel's Right to Exist." And again, I'm not some kind of cheerleader for Palestine or the people or the Republic or whatever they are. But I'm definitely not a cheerleader for Israel either. So, if we're going to talk a little bit about the conflict between Israel and Palestine, where do you think I should start? What should be the opening?
Well, what it is that you sent me about I'm trying to recall the essay that you wrote, your thesis,
self-determinism.
That first was what did the people that lived there look like? You also believe that the Egyptians were black. You believe Moses was black.
No, not
right?
black, not black, dark-skinned.
dark skin. Well, define dark skin.
They weren't Negroid, as you might see in what you call Congolese. They weren't Congolese Negroid. Northern Africa is a part of the Fertile Crescent, which hold the same persona as Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Palestine, and other countries within that area.
Mm-hmm.
They're not Congolese black. Okay, I know I do make a differentiation between the colors of skin, but it's not that extreme. But when it comes to modern age of Jews claiming that Israel is their land, you have to obviously go into a lot of different...
Well, you were saying that there's no proof in the Bible that states that this was a real estate deal.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, there isn't any. There's no proof for a real estate deal. In fact, they have to use a lot of different concepts. But the biblical deal is huge. It's huge for American politics and the concept of Judaism as a political monster. They need the Old Testament. They need it. It's part of their argument. I mean, they argue it all the time. Ben Shapiro. If you people watch Ben Shapiro is a blind advocate for the self-determinism of Jews when it comes to Israel and Palestine.
Well, he's a self-proclaimed Zionist.
Not Zionist, but Jew. He does.
He said it. He said it.
Did he?
I heard him say it.
Did he really say it?
Yes, he did.
All right. Well, then we know who he is. Because if you have
as much as we love Ben Shapiro, he's a whiny little shithead.
If he has the courage to say that in the modern politics of Western media, then I'd have to believe him. I would have to believe him. Because it takes a lot of balls.
Look, what is Zionism? It's Jews looking out for their own self-interest, and the whole concept of Zionism came from the whole time there was a nationalist movement. So I'm not denying it. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Everyone wants their own,
yes.
You know. Everyone's got their own shtick and self-determinism and stuff like that, you know?
Well, self-determinism...
So this whole thing of Zionism, blah, blah, blah. Where did Zionism come from? It came from like 1880, 1890, when all these other countries had their whole nationalist movement, and the Jews didn't have their own place, and they wanted their own place.
But how did they sell it? They sell it through the philosophy of self-determinism. But this, again, is what I said about the concept of hypocrisy when it comes to Marxist philosophies. Because self-determinism can only truly exist in a philosophical sense if it applies to every other human being that wants to be self-determined.
No, not if you're white.
Yes.
A white Christian can't have that. No,
yes.
No.
If you're a white Christian, you cannot be self-determined. It's impossible.
No.
It cannot.
That's racist. You're a Nazi now.
I'll read a part. One, again, this is the argument of Israel and Palestine. They say one is the concept of Jewish self-determinism. Self-determinism is actually a philosophy theory that states every present state or condition of the self is a result of previous states or conditions of the self. That's it. That's the definition of self-determinism, and it's unattainable. Think about it. Can every present state or condition of the self be relevant to a previous state or condition of the self? Can it be?
I don't know. No, it doesn't sound like it could.
It doesn't sound like it could be. But this is the philosophical concept of self-determinism. So when a Jew says Palestine must be annexed because of Jewish self-determinism, you can easily point to the philosophical definition of it and go, that doesn't make much sense. How can that even exist?
Well, look, there was an Israel. I think there's like 2 or 3 Israels in the past, weren't there? I mean, there was Jacob and
Yaakov
was it? King David, right? I mean,
David.
the Israel did exist at one time prior to the Israel now. I think it existed two or three times in the past. I know definitely two, maybe a third. Not 100%. I can't really recall right now.
Now, if you want to go down that lane, what you're doing is you're bringing in biblical history as a part of their argument for their own self-determinism.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was an Israel twice, at least twice in the past 2,000, maybe 3,000 years.
Yeah, and the basically the concept of self-determinism that I was talking about before, that is philosophical. It basically means I can determine my own fate without the influence of any other background. There's no background. Okay. Is that possible? Philosophically, is that possible? It's not. Can you determine your fate without any other influence? Can you?
No.
No, you can't. That's what I mean. That's why I put in the article, it is unattainable. It's bullshit. And many people know this, but this is an argument made, the philosophical argument.
Listen, Ayam, all you're doing is the Islamification of MGTOW. We know your game. I love that comment. That was an hysterical comment.
That was the best. That was the best. Now, okay, I'm going to read some more from this article. Now,
yeah, do it.
Now, if it stands to reason that if Jews can claim self-determinism as a nation and claim all rights that come with it, so should any other group of nations. The article I mentioned at the beginning of this writing, entitled "Do Israeli Rights Conflict with the Palestinian Right of Return?" tells us quite a lot about the lawful right of self-determination in regards to nations. First, here with the mention of its inception into international law. Now, this is when it became international law. And I'll quote it and read it. The right of peoples to self-determination developed during the same decades when the international community wavered over the emerging conflict in Palestine. The law of self-determination is still ambiguous today, and it was especially vague in its early years. Does that remind you of anything? Please. There is therefore no open and shut argument on either side about whether the Jewish community in Palestine had a legal right to establish an independent sovereign state in 1948. Legally, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. This was known. It was known when these things were drawn up. And all of these things were drawn up for public opinion. And I'll continue here. People's rights to self-determination developed from a political principle in international relations after the First World War into a full-fledged right today. Before World War II, states had not yet recognized the right of all peoples to self-determination. It was included in treaty law for the first time in the United Nations Charter. On its face, the Charter reference to self-determination was only an articulation of guiding principles and objectives, although it may also have been a recognition of an emerging customary norm. Self-determination only became indisputably established as a clear right in international law in the 1960s with the UN Declaration on the granting of independence to colonial countries and peoples, and the International Bill of Rights. Self-determination was included as the first article of both the Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. Quoting, "All peoples have the right of self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development." I mean, can you not see where that's going to go wrong?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's going to go wrong on every aspect of it. But this is the first argument of the idea that Palestine is a Jewish state. The first argument is self-determination. But it goes so wrong in so many places.
Yep. Yep. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Well, how long?
But the bottom. Let's cut to the
cut to the chase. Cut to it.
Cut to the chase. Do you think the state of Israel should exist, Ayam? Yes or no?
No, absolutely not. Not based on their arguments. Not based on their arguments.
No, well, forget their fucking argument. I mean, let's just be real. It's just a scapegoat argument. Okay, they're just using that as an alibi to justify why they're there. Correct?
Well, you have to have some argument to justify your existence, right?
Well, then what about we can apply that to any country, I guess, in the United States, for example.
That's my argument. If they're allowed to apply this self-determination as their argument, why cannot any other nation apply the same argument? But this is the problem. They're not allowed to.
Who's saying we're not?
International law. International law is saying that Israel can apply self-determination as an argument for its existence. But anyone,
what about other countries?
They're not allowed to. And that's the whole point.
Hey, really?
Again, yes.
Oh, that's bullshit, then.
This is the hypocrisy of Marxism. You have to say, I'm allowed to shove my fist up your asshole anytime I want, but you're not allowed to do the same thing. That is Marxism in a nutshell. And this is, and again, I break this down. It's not just the idea of self-determinism, and that's an argument. That's an argument of Israel. We, as Jewish people, we need to be self-determinist. We need to be able to have the right to push towards our own destiny as Jewish people. But what does that entail? And is that right allowed to other people? According to them, it's not.
Okay.
It's only allowed to them. They're only allowed self-determination because they're Jewish. That's the only reason it exists. And it's, come on, read what they say. It's there.
So it's flawed. It's heavily flawed.
Of course it's heavily flawed.
Right. Okay, so then putting the international law aside, do you still think Israel should exist?
No, I don't think it should exist at all. I mean, it never was supposed to exist.
But it's there. It's there now.
Yeah, it's there.
So what should be done?
You know what? I don't even know what can be done. You can't change it.
Well, nothing can be done.
There's nothing. You can't retroactively change what they have done by force and violence. That's like that's like saying, okay, so your abusive husband punched you in the face and gave you a black eye. How can you change that?
Well,
that's
heal.
Exactly what it's like. Yeah, it'll heal, but you can't change it. You can't change the fact that
maybe she doesn't fucking listen, and that's why she gotta get fucking punched in the face.
Well, whether or not she deserved it, that's another question. And you didn't ask me that question.
There you go.
Now, let me read this. People's rights to self-determination developed from a political principle in international relations after World War. Self-determination was a political concept based on world wars. Giving people the right to self-determination only existed after conflict. You defined a group of people as Jewish, and you gave them self-determination. I want you now, this is the test. I want you to name any other culture or group of people in recorded history that were given that same right of self-determination besides the Jews in recorded history? Name them and explain to me how it happened. Go ahead.
The concept, the self-determination concept is fairly new, so I wouldn't be able to give you an answer, because how long has that been around for? Only 70 years?
Because it was only designed for them.
Well, they're the chosen people, Ayam.
Exactly. It was only designed for them. So there is no other example you can give. You can't. Nobody can. Nobody can go, well, actually, back in 1257, the Palestinians had a call for self-determination based on the same definition that was given to the Jews in the modern age. No, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
Okay, my argument with you, though, is that you're saying Israel should not exist right now. Is that correct?
Whether or not it should exist is not.
No, the bottom line is you support. I'll make it very much more simple for you. You support the Palestinians. You support the Israelis.
You know what? I honestly don't know who I support.
Oh, come on.
No, I'm serious. I don't, because I don't trust any of them.
I support the state of Israel, even though we like to Jew bash as much as possible, and I'm looking at it through a micro lens.
I don't support either of them. I don't trust the Palestinians, and I don't trust the Jews.
I don't trust. Oh, of course. I mean, that's a given. But on a micro scale, okay, on a micro scale, me as an American citizen, of course I'm supporting Israel. Because,
I mean, for what purpose?
Well, look at it like this. Let's just say hypothetically, the Jews left. What, now the Palestinians have?
They're never going to leave.
Land?
They're never going to leave.
Well, they're not going to leave. Nor do I really want them to leave.
I don't want them to leave either. I know people. I have friends that are Jews there. I don't want them to leave, but I don't.
But they would understand that there's a whole movement supporting the Palestinians, and including Jews on the far left that are delegitimizing Israel.
Now,
right?
That's something I want you to teach me about.
Dude, that's a whole rabbit hole, man. Apparently, there's different factions of Jews who hate this Jews, and it's kind of a whole it's a huge mess that's going on with that. Honestly, I've had friends give me readings on it and stuff, and to be honest with you, I didn't give a flying fuck, because it sounds, a lot of it's conspiratorial and it sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I want to just warn our listeners now that we're going into some crazy shit right now. All right, there's no more happy-go-lucky shit about how you can get more pussy in Southeast Asia.
No more talking about cheap whores in Asia anymore.
No. We're going to talk about some other stuff. Deep now.
We're talking jihad.
And you can leave or you can stay. It's up to you. And we're going to give a good hour for it. All right. We want to give it some time. All right. We love you all, listeners. But if you don't like this, nobody's forcing you to stay, and you can go on and do other things. Anyway, so
I'm going back to what I'm saying. I of course. Without 100%, I support Israel, and this whole concept with the delegitimization of Israel, it's fucking retarded. Because the way I look at it is like this, and sorry if I'm offending you, Ayam, but what the Israelis did in the past 60 years with that little fucking land versus what the Arabs have done with that land,
they've done much better.
1,000 years or whatever. It's not even You're pretty much cheering for an underdog that fucking sucks.
Yes.
Right?
No, I absolutely agree with you. I absolutely agree with you.
A lot of the hatred towards Israel is because they're winners, and everyone thinks they. And granted, they rigged it a bit. They've cheated here and there. I mean, we can go with the USS Liberty. We can go down the 9/11 fucking avenue. We can go down the Iraq War.
But you know that
they fucking rigged this shit. They rigged this shit to make sure that they're the fucking victors in this.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to hate on a winner. If anything, I want to beat the winner. But I'm not going to sit here like a social justice fucking warrior moron, okay, and support a bunch of fucking Neanderthals that want to rip your fucking head off and throw faggots off a rooftop.
All right. Now, can you logically argue against my argument of it's right to be there as a country?
No, of course. But I can apply the same logic to any fucking nation.
Yeah, so let's do it.
Carthaginian lives matter, AM. Where's my support? Me too, Carthaginian lives matter. Okay, where's my reparations? oh, wait a second, there's no more Carthaginians because they don't fucking exist anymore.
Now, what happens if the Israeli existence, if it is what we will become, are you okay with that?
What, that we're all going to be androgynous, climate change homosexuals?
Yeah.
But then it affects them too.
Does it though? That's the whole point.
Yes, it does, because we me and you've discussed this.
Winners and losers.
The situation in Israel and in Palestinian territories is a matter of demographics. Because of Western feminism, okay, because of the decadence in the West, Israel's part of the West. Make no mistake about it. It falls into our fucking, it's all it is a vassal. The vassal state of America, right? So it's like an appendage, okay? And the thing is that they're in this feminism.
But you do realize
shit too.
But you do realize that the concept that Israel was built on was a Marxist philosophy of self-determinism. I mean, it is the same philosophy of I'm a man, but I'm still a woman. And if you don't believe that, I can show it.
Right? They're being hypocritical. Yes, I agree.
Look, I want to walk you through this. Okay. Now, I'm going to quote you again from what I wrote. Quoting: "People's rights to self-determination developed from a political principle in international relations after the First World War. Remember, the First World War, into a full-fledged right today. Before World War II, states had not yet recognized the right of all peoples to self-determination. How can you recognize the rights of everyone to self-determination? It was included in treaty law for the first time in the United Nations Charter. On its face, the Charter's reference to self-determination was only an articulation of guiding principles and objectives, although it may also have been a recognition of an emerging customary norm."
The people that founded the UN are the same people that wanted to make a state of Israel.
And why?
I don't know.
Why did they want a state of Israel?
They want the Holy Land.
Look, it might come to that,
It's
but then
they think if they have Israel, that the Messiah is going to come. But guess what? There's already been 2 messiahs already, and they didn't acknowledge.
But then Hitler is a fucking holy man. If you do that,
well, how's he a holy man?
He's a holy man because he pushed the agenda. Do you honestly believe? Do you honestly believe that Jews just appeared there? The modern day Jews just appeared in
no, because you can go down the conspiracy. Look, the concept is we will never forget. Like I think that's what it is with the Holocaust, right? We will not forget.
The Holocaust put Jews in Palestine.
Yes, because the theory goes is that they feel guilty that they had to sacrifice their own in order to make the state of Israel.
It's not a theory, man. It's the natural evolution of history. Like, they are there because of Hitler, and that's the irony of it.
Hitler helped push it along with the transfer agreement and the Madagascar plan.
Yeah, Hitler made it happen. The idea that he lined them up to be gassed, that's bullshit. We all know that. Everybody knows that. Look, it was Nazi Germany that opened the door for a Jewish Palestine, and that's history.
I agree.
That's history.
Also, they were there in the 30s. They started putting infrastructure in, from what I understand, right after World War I. So they already started developing stuff and making moves, and it started, getting trade going over there. Yeah. But there were Jews there. But there were also Jews there, even beforehand. I mean, there was a small sect of them, but it wasn't like they just appeared out of nowhere. There were Jews in that region, just living on Palestinian land also.
Of course there were. Why wouldn't there be?
Not as many as there are now, but they definitely were there. But I don't know how, probably in a couple 100,000 or something like that, But
I mean, this is history is it's a string of misinterpreted ideas. That's history.
History would be great if only if it were true, Am.
It's not. It's not true. It never has been true. And we have to constantly reinterpret it to understand it. Because guess what? This is what I say. The world is not meant to be a utopia. You're not born into this world to experience a utopia. You're born into this world to understand heartache and pain and conflict and difference.
Agreed.
That's why you're here. If anybody tries to sell you the idea that you must be here because you're waiting for utopia, you're waiting for the greatest announcement, then they're full of shit and you should toss them out. This life is pain. This life is learning.
So my question for you is why don't Arab countries, I mean Palestinians are Arabs, how come the other Arab countries don't support Palestinians?
You know why? Because they're run by Jews.
I disagree with that.
No, they are.
There's something else. There's something else behind that. I don't think other Arab countries like Palestinians. That's what I think.
No. They're fucking run by Jews. They know exactly who they're. They know who they are. There's a lot
of infighting. The Iraqi Ba'athist Party didn't get along with the Syrian Ba'athist Party. Gaddafi didn't get along with this country. There's other things going on.
The Arabs aren't stupid, man.
That we don't know about.
They're not stupid. Everybody thinks the Arabs are stupid. They're not. The Arabs have been controlling and manipulated the gas prices for fucking 30 years, 50 years. And everybody thinks they're stupid. George Bush said the Arabs are stupid. We're going to fucking bomb them. And that's what everybody believes.
Well, if they're being controlled by Jews, then they really aren't that fucking bright.
Okay, I'll give you that. But they're in control, man.
See, but I don't agree with this whole just like I said. I use the analogy of my brother. Just because I don't like my brother doesn't mean I'm gonna let some fucking asshole push him around because he's still my goddamn brother.
Yeah.
Right. So again, why don't other Arab countries support Palestine?
They do.
I think because they don't like Palestine.
They do. They do.
Who? What country? No country supports Palestine.
They do.
Iran and Syria were the only two that supported it, and look how that's going.
Dude, they do, but they don't make it public. Are you kidding me? Of course they do.
Dude, if the Arab countries united, Israel would be gone.
No, they don't want. Right? They don't want Israel to be gone. That's not. That if they wanted it would be.
That doesn't go. That's not halal for the Quran now, is it?
No, it's not. They don't give a fuck about what's halal. Are you kidding me? They don't care.
Haram.
They don't care about what's haram. Look, they want this to happen.
That's not kosher, Ayam.
It's in control. It's absolutely in control of what they have. Give me a break, man. These people know exactly what they're doing. They don't give a fuck if it appears to be, oh, the Muslims are winning, the Muslims are losing. They don't give a fuck, man. They know exactly what they're doing. We're talking about a peninsula that was the fertile crescent of human existence for how many decades, how many hundreds of years. The Fertile Crescent. They have books that are being published today called the Bible, called the Quran, published today, that are still being distributed around the whole fucking world. And these people live in this Fertile Crescent. And they're winning. Everything they say happens. We're just the victims. We're the people that lived on the other side of the world that didn't quite get ahead of the game when it came to religion and controlling people through religion. We just didn't quite get ahead of the game. But the Fertile Crescent It already did, man. This is all a game to them. It's all a game.
So where does it? What's the end? The thing I don't understand is when do Jews expect the friggin' Messiah to come?
They don't.
I mean,
They don't. The regular Jews expect it because they're just the normal people like you and me.
yeah, but are they gonna keep rejecting every time one comes along and say, "Oh, that's not the real one. Oh, that's not the real one either."
Eventually, it's gonna fall apart. Eventually. But you got to remember that every time they make that claim, there's 1,000 people just waiting, just rubbing their hands together. It's like anybody in social media rubbing your hands together. This is going to happen. You know, it's like the Muslims today. The Muslims today, you know what? The reason why there are Muslims blowing themselves up in these Western countries, or just they're rubbing their hands together going, I'm going to kill Western society. The reason they're doing that is because of the bullshit that their religion sold them. And I've seen it. They love it.
Or what if it's out of an act of desperation?
It's not desperation. It's ideology. They believe it, man. They 100% believe it.
Well, I think that's a case for some of them. I think it's a little bit of I think it's a little more complicated than that. Yeah, I think that what you've just stated is correct. I also think that it is Muslims that are pissed the fuck off at what's happened in their own homeland, and they know that the countries that they're in are the ones that did it. And I think a lot of them are also false flags.
Okay, let me put it this way. I know a guy who's a MGTOW Indonesian. And you have to remember, before I left Indonesia, I made good friends with MGTOW Indonesian. And it was that was something that was never heard of. I was talking to and accepting invites from people, males in Indonesia that had no idea. They couldn't comprehend the concept of MGTOW. And I was talking to them. I was bringing them up. And I was telling them, hey, fuck this, do this, do this, do this. It was becoming something before I had to leave. All right? And I still, to this day, I have a MGTOW man talking to me. And talking to me about what I said to him. And what it meant to him. And in that moment, it was a man saying, I wish I had understood this before. I wish I knew this before. I could have made so many different changes in my life. I could have done this and I could have done this, but I didn't know this before. And this is just a random Indonesian guy that happened to listen to my stuff while I was still in Indonesia. And he's still there.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about a concept that takes these ideas. Self-determinism. Can a man say, I'm a man and I determine myself to be this? Can a man be self-determinist? Can he?
No.
Can a country? Can a nation?
No, it's not possible.
That's my point. How can we make this happen? But if you want to argue from their perspective, from the perspective of the Jews, then it must exist. I must have the right to self-determinism because I am a Jew. That's my point. It's hypocrisy.
Oh, I'm not denying the hypocrisy. I'm trying to understand though, if you don't support either Palestine or Israel, I get that.
They have to prove it.
They can't. Can't do it. It's impossible.
No, they can. By their own definitions they can. And this is why I argue it. By their definitions they can, but they never do. That's the point.
What? Because of what they stated in the Bible?
Well, it could be the Bible, or all that matters is, okay, again, let's go back to self-determination. Because eventually we can go into state or nation. We can talk about an actual
why
state.
the hell's it called a state? That's the other thing I don't really fucking get. The state of Israel. Why not just the country of Israel?
All right, well, let's define it. Like I said in the article, a state. Defined state, a politically unified people occupying a definite territory or nation. That's a state.
Uh-huh.
A nation is a large body of people associated with a particular territory that is sufficiently conscious of its unity to seek or possess a government, particularly its own. So basically, a state has no self-governance. Well, a nation does. Right?
Right.
And that's the goddamn definition. So what is Israel? Is it a state or a nation? Seriously, what is it?
I don't know. It sounds like a lot of contradiction to me.
It does. Absolutely, it is contradiction. By definition, Israel is most certainly a state. But the nation that it represents is this large body of people that are united under the banner of Judaism. Israel is, by definition, a state. It's a bordered state, a politically unified people occupying a definite territory. But the nationality of it is Jewishness. And this is how they do it.
Mm-hmm. What about, okay, I'm going to run this one by you. Do you think that a lot of the Muslim migration into Europe is a way to scare Jews out of Europe and move them into Israel?
You know what? I don't know, but I would guarantee, I would gamble that yes, it is. And I would gamble, I don't know 100% from anything I've read or understand, but as an outlier, I would say yes, that's probably
Because I think
so.
that Netanyahu has stated that to tell now's the time to leave Europe. You should all come back to your homeland, which is Israel.
Mm-hmm. I would believe it definitely as a concept that these people, especially who they understand themselves to be, because you have to understand, Jews moving to Israel, they know who they are, and they will be that person and that ideology, and they will defend it to their lives. Now, can you imagine moving a bunch of Muslim people from Muslim countries, let's say Afghanistan, Iran, or wherever they're coming from, and moving them to European countries? They're going to think the same. I see it here. I see it here in Alberta. I see in Canada, in this little lowly place of Alberta, I see these Muslims come over here. They're my neighbors, and I watch them. I go, you know what? You're a nice guy. You're my neighbor, but you are never ever be a Canadian as much as I am. Like, there's no way.
Oh, where did you go?
I'm here. I'm here.
Broke up. Sorry. Repeat yourself.
All right. I was just going to say, I know Muslims here living in this country, my neighbors that I have arguments with. And I said, I know you're from Afghanistan. I know you're a Muslim. But I guarantee you, you and I will never be friends. Like, we're not going to get together and have barbecues. You know? Like, when it's summertime and I'm cooking up some steak on the barbecue, he's not going to come over and be my friend. I know that. And he knows that.
Well, why not? Your brethrens.
No. It ain't
Didn't you tell him?
Nah, it ain't gonna
Did you
happen.
break the news to him?
But that's the whole point, man. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about self-determination, state or nation. Like, what are you? The people that come here, they don't determine themselves as a nation or state. They know who they are. And they're not going to be a part of yours. Ever.
Mm-hmm.
They're not your friend. They'll never be your friend. And this is something
No,
that's...
This is also the problem with multiculturalism in a nutshell also.
But no, this is what's been going on in Israel and Palestine for the last fucking 3 generations. You understand? Since Hitler fucking shaved his mustache off, this is what's been going on there. And the rest of us are trying to catch up. We're trying to understand it through, well, I've been an expatriate. I kind of understand what you mean. No, these people are really going through it.
Who?
The people in Palestine, in Israel.
Okay.
I mean, they're moving. You have Jewish people that apparently died in fucking concentration camps. Oh, but surprise, they're still alive. They're moving to fucking Israel, the state of Israel.
Have you ever spoken to a Palestinian before?
Only through chats.
Like what kind of chat?
This is just chats through social media.
Well, I got to chat with a Palestinian through a video game. Actually, it was actually really cool to get to speak to someone, and I asked them about it. I was kind of polite. I told them I'd never spoken to someone from Palestine before and stuff. And I asked him, like, is it that bad? What's really going on? And he lived in the West Bank, and he told me that a lot of it's all bullshit in the media. He says it's really not that bad.
Of course it is. It's all bullshit. They actually make videos. They manufacture videos, and it's about money, man. It's all about money.
He says the Israeli government's pretty shitty though, but he says he doesn't hate Israelis.
Why would you? Because it'd be the same as us.
I don't know. He was really cool.
Well,
most young Muslims I've spoken to, most young Arab Muslims I've spoken to are actually they're all really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you take Islam as your philosophy, then there's certain things you have to take into mind. And one of them is...
here we go. Your Islamification of the...
Yeah, I'm gonna... Yeah. You gotta... No, but you're right. That's what I'm doing. Islamification of MGTOW. Give me a break. No, seriously, man. Like, I'm an advocate of a journey of understanding, of truth. And that is spiritual and physical. If you want to understand what's true... You need to discipline yourself, not just physically, but spiritually. All right? You're not an accident. I don't care how many people tell you you're some kind of manufactured accident of scientism. Like, it was a big bang and I just existed. No, you're a spiritual fucking human being. Right? You exist and you have a purpose.
Right, but then let's go with the Darwinist, atheist fucking
That's
path.
total bullshit. It's total
Right,
bullshit.
I don't believe. Yeah, that doesn't make any.
It doesn't hold any water.
It's genetics.
Yeah.
Right? Really, it's your environment with the things you're exposed to make you who you are. It's not really your soul.
It's absolute bullshit. You are a spiritual human being, and you have a lot to offer, actually. And your existence isn't futile. It means something, and it means something to other people. All right, that's the hope of reality, is that you are not an accident. You have a spirit, you have a soul, and it is dynamic, and it makes a difference not only in your life, but many people's lives. So the idea of this, this hubris of we were born of an accident in space and we became a bunch of atoms colliding together and we have no meaning. It's total bullshit. Absolute bullshit. And it's the same with the
I do think with the whole concept of what is it? I think it was Albert Einstein said that This all can't be by accident. This
And
all
neither,
can't be by accident.
and neither is the state of Israel. It's not by accident, man. Like, it works. It's an understanding of people, relations with people.
I don't think Israel's going to exist. I don't see it going past like another 50 to 100 years, though.
No, it won't.
It won't. It's not possible.
Here. Let me quote again from my article. Israel is a state, says who? Hear, O Israel, the soul of our people is forever and is one. Hear, O worldly nations, you are just noise and done. Now, that is a poem from Michael Druck, who was an Israeli person. It was called For Israel, a Prelude in Rhyme. But when they talk about this, it's a nation. It's not a person. It's not objective. It's not... Okay, when you and I say, it's for America, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about an individual anymore, right?
So about the country, the state, state of America.
It's the state of America. It doesn't have to be a country. It has to be an idea, a state. This is for America, right? As soon as I say that, I am no longer an individual. I have to be subjective. I can't be objective anymore. I have to be. This is for America. This is for Israel. Right?
Right.
So this is how they've existed. And Americans can learn a lot from Israel's existence. If you kneel for the what do you call it, the national anthem at a football game, and you're a player, well, you're fucked. Don't do that. Don't kneel at the football game. And it's the same for Israel. It must be a state. It must be a people. It has to exist as a people. O Israel herself turns to in order to justify her current existence. The current Jews of Israel and the Zionists who push for her modern creation will recite biblical tales of persecution and a people without a land and a promise by God to one day return to a
All right,
homeland.
let me. But doesn't them having their own state, doesn't that defeats the whole purpose of being a Jew? Like, also that, like, aren't they supposed to be nomadic?
Well, that's the whole point. It's like there is no objective concept of a state of Israel. And
But
again,
the whole thing was that Jews were always a people without a land. So by them having a piece of land, like, goes against the whole concept of being a Jew, like, doesn't it? Like, you know what I mean?
no, I can debunk that. I can debunk that, and I'll do that right now. Okay, you have to remember that these Jewish Israelis define themselves as the people of Israel, right? So they
No,
create.
they're Israeli. You're right there. Yeah, okay.
So they create this concept of a Jewish race, a nation. Like, it's not. They're not
Well, Jew is not a race.
No, but it is to them.
No, I've never heard that. The only people that say Jews are a race are like white nationalist lunatics. They don't know fucking anything.
But it
about
doesn't
history.
matter. It is reality in the written prose. All right? They've created the concept of a Jewish race, a nation of Jews. They've done it. And how can you
It's
call
not possible.
No, I'll explain to you how it's possible. How can you call yourself a nationality if you have no nation or country to call home? Well, Israel becomes the state or country which represents the true homeland of this race or nation of Jews. So, did God promise this piece of real estate called Israel to these so-called Jews? And is it located in what we now call the Holy Land? Now, here's what the word Israel means and stands for, according, again, go back to their sources. push these people into the sources.
Yeah, cite it, measure it, tell them.
Tell them. This is the God in the Old Testament. Genesis 35, 9 to 12. God appeared to Jacob again when he came from Padan Aram and blessed him. And God said to him, "Your name is Jacob. No longer shall your name be called Jacob, but Israel shall be your name." So he called his name Israel. And God said to him, "I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall come from you, and kings shall come from your own body. The land that I gave to Abraham and Isaac I will give to you, and I will give to the land to your offspring after you." There it is. That is their biblical reference to who they are.
But that's the name of a person.
Yes, but it is a person. It's not a nation. He says, "Your name is Jacob no longer. Now you will be Israel." So he takes a man whose name is Jacob and says, "No, now you're Israel. That's your name." And it becomes a nation. So according to God, Israel is not a piece of real estate, but simply the name of the prophet Jacob, or Yaqub in the Semitic languages. Jacob was one son of Isaac, who was one son of Abraham, in a long line of noble prophets. Jacob is a very important one in the Jewish faith, as he was the one who made this covenant with God, which promised not Israel, but the land given to Abraham and Isaac before him. This proves that Israel, the state, is not the land promised to the lineage of Jacob, but simply Jacob's God-given name.
Question, what year was this?
What year did God talk to Jacob?
Yeah.
That would have been about like 2,000 years, 3,000, 4,000 years before Christ.
4,000.
Yeah, 4,000 years.
2,000.
4,000 years before Christ.
All right. Yeah, because Moses was Ramses II, and that was like.
Yeah, you're talking about like 4,000 years before Christ, man.
Yeah, it's 2,000 years before the Roman Empire. Think about that for a second, guys. Think of how long ago that was.
Exactly.
How mind-fucking long ago that was. That's mind-blowingly so long ago.
I know. People don't think about that. And it says, whenever children of Israel is mentioned in the Old Testament, it is not talking about a group or nation of people. And this is, again, if you read the Old Testament, read your Bible. They're not talking about people. They're talking about a nation that once resided in a land called Israel. But it had to do with the lineage of the prophet Jacob. Like there is no, in biblical history, there is very little reference to a land called Israel. It was a human being. It was a person. You know, it was a person.
Yeah, but it was still a Jewish state at one point back then, though.
No,
man.
Sure, it was a Jewish state, but no, they weren't Jews. They weren't Jews. You have to understand the word Jew didn't exist back then.
What were they called?
Not Jews. They were not called Jews. They were called.
What the hell
they
were
were.
they?
They were called the followers. They were called the followers of Israel. Not Jews. There was no word called Jews. And actually, in the language of at the time, there was no J word. You couldn't say a J. It was Hu. It was a H sound.
The Hughes.
The Hughes. That would have been more accurate. There was no Jews. It didn't exist. It did not exist at the time.
My apologies. I'm eating pizza. I'm enjoying this conversation.
Now look at this. Israel was not a state. It never existed as a country. It didn't politically and in history. It didn't exist as a country. And Jew did not exist as a word. It didn't exist as a word. Like no one at that time would say Jew as a word. It didn't exist. This was later. But if we go back into their source of Genesis, I love Genesis because the Jews love Genesis.
Genesis is pretty badass.
Yeah, and the Jews love it. They love it. And and they're so hypocritical that they don't even understand how much it fucks up their method. But anyway,
I love that album, Abicab. That was a great album by Genesis also. Get it? The band.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
So Genesis 35:22-26 says this: While Israel lived in that land, Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel heard of it. Now the sons of Jacob were 12, the sons of Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun, the sons of Rachel, Joseph, and Benjamin, the sons of Bilhah, Rachel's servant Dan, and Naphtali, the sons of Ziplah, Leah's servant Gad, and Asher. These were the sons of Jacob who were born to him in Padan Aram. Now, I want you to understand this. This is the Jewish heritage. It is nepotistic. It's horrible. It's a horrible history. I don't understand why we live in an American democracy today where we think that the Jewish heritage of biblical history is something to be proud of, because it's a horrible story. It's a horrible story, man.
Hang on, I'm trying to get the history of Israel, pulling it up right now as you speak. Battle of Jericho.
How old are you gonna get?
I know Jericho really well, so I know the stories of Jericho. So that's what I'm pulling up. Book of Joshua, location, battle result.
Well, at the time, everything I mentioned, it's not referenced as a piece of land, okay? But it had to do. It was just kind of like a fluid border or whatever. It was heritage. It was heritage. It had to do with heritage and people. It had nothing to do with borders of land. There was no Israel as a plot of land. Biblically, it did not exist, and I challenge anyone to look through this. It doesn't exist. It says, the 12 sons of Jacob, or Israel, would become the true people of Israel, that is the bloodline descendants of Jacob. Okay, we're talking about bloodlines. This is not an infrastructure. It's not fenced off. This was bloodlines. It was always bloodlines. It was quite clear that Israeli Jews cannot justify their current occupation on the claim that God promised them a specific state, because God never did. In their books, there was no state like, oh, you get this piece of land. It never existed.
Okay, I agree with you. What you written in regards to saying that the Bible stated it doesn't show that it's a real estate deal.
No.
But again, there was a state of Israel at other points in time in history, though, man.
There wasn't. There was only one very... Okay, again, I'll repeat this.
The Kingdom of Israel.
The only thing they can claim, again, the Kingdom of Israel can only be proved in their old books. And you can read their old books, and I'll show it to you right now. The only thing they can claim to be true based on biblical evidence is that they are of the bloodline of Jacob, and it is indeed the land where the vile current state of Israel exists. That's it. There is no promise of a piece of land. This is what I find hilarious, because I've been a Muslim living in a Muslim country, and I've read their books, and I see the things they say don't exist in their books. They're full of shit, man. These people are full of shit. It's not there. If you actually take the Old Testament and read it as 5 books, you'll see that everything they say, it's not there. It doesn't exist. You know, I'm one of the few people that actually spent the time to read those books. And I'll say it here right now without no fear. I know it. I've seen it. I've read it. There is no...
You measured it. You measured it.
I measured... There is... I'm sorry. It doesn't exist. I've done it with Islam too. It doesn't exist. The religion that they sell you on the outside, and they sell it to you to hate people around you, it doesn't exist. If you actually spent 10 minutes to read it and look, you'll see that it doesn't fucking exist. It doesn't. You know, it's the same with the Muslims. Like it's absolute bullshit. It doesn't exist. But most people, and this is what I understand about religion, is that people love religion. They love religion because they love to be told what to believe. They don't want to figure it out for themselves. Most people don't. They don't want to understand the truth. They need to be told what's real.
Well, it's like Santa Claus then.
This is what most people... Well, I'll give you a perfect example. And I want to challenge people. There was just recently a white man named... What was his name? He put a car in space. He creates... he has a company that creates... cars and put them in
Elon
space.
Musk?
Elon Musk. He just recently said that he launched a rocket and put a car in space. And do you believe that shit? Really?
Did he?
Of course he
So
didn't.
amazing.
Of course he didn't. These people, it's the same shit as these religious people that tell you that, oh, we have all the answers. Here it is. Now you have the answers. These people are fucking sucking your mind for any concept of reality. You know, there's no difference.
Fill the pews, man. Fill the pews.
It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible that I have friends that think that there is an actual car driving in space with a dummy and there's a camera. It must be real. Oh, it must be real. Just like my live stream. What should I show you? Can I show you something that might be real? I'll tell you my voice. Can you prove it? You probably can.
Yeah, prove it.
But not these
How
guys.
do you know he's the real Ayam Sirias? How do you know?
Yeah, how do you know? Right? How do you fucking know? But these guys can say they put a car in space, and you just like, oh yeah, that's real. Oh yeah, absolutely real. Yeah, it must be real. You know, it's time to grow up, people. It's time to fucking grow up. When it comes to Palestine, when it comes to 9/11, when it comes to the shit you see every day and assume to be real, turn it off.
Listen, the state of Israel is a social construct, okay?
Fuck that. The state of Israel is a mess. It's a political mess.
Well, my first time ever hearing about Israel or Palestine, I was 13. It was around the time all those bus bombings were taking place and the coffee, those cafe shop bombings. I think it was like 2001, before 9/11. You remember that era?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember seeing it in the paper a lot over and over and over again, and I remember asking my dad. I remember clearly asking my dad about what's going on, what is all this, and he goes, don't. He didn't say don't worry about it. He said, there's nothing to talk about. It'll never be fixed in your lifetime, and it's not worth discussing. And I remember that's what my father told me.
It's beautiful,
he's
beautiful. Right. He's absolutely. He told you the best the best information he could have told you, because
that was it. That was it. And he left it at that. And he never. I don't even think I've ever heard the word Israel come out of his mouth once.
Yeah, but that's beautiful, because what he's telling you is that reality is nothing what you observe. In fact, everything you observe has to be questioned. It's done.
Nothing you hear and half of what you see.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Look, I want to say this to everybody that has listened to us tonight, and we've talked about a topic that we understand, and that's being an expatriate in a foreign country. We're not going to lie to you. I don't think so. We'll never lie to you. But please understand, do not believe anything we say. You
do your own research.
Do your research. Check out what's real and what is not. Make it happen. Do your own research. Because the worst part of the world that I live in is that people think, I'm serious, people, rational people, living, real people that can just, I don't know, turn on a computer and go, oh, this is real, this is not. These people think that a man named Elon Musk put a car into an orbit of our planet, and it's there, floating around, and we believe it. Like, we're fucked up people, man. We need to stop that shit. There's no fucking car in space. Stop it. Stop it.
That sounds retarded. I gotta look that up now.
No, you need to look it up. And I think MGTOW, especially MGTOW, needs to understand this, because MGTOW is about objective understanding, not subjective. Not because you feel it's right. Look at this shit. Stop it. There is no goddamn car in space, and it's a joke, and we're paying for it. Stop paying money for lies. Right? That's all I want to say.
So what do you think? What do you think's gonna come of the situation in the Middle East? Any idea in the next 10, 15 years?
You want my subjective or objective opinion?
Both.
All right. My subjective opinion is peace on earth. All right.
Yallah.
Yallah. Subhanallah wa ta'ala. And then there will be peace on earth. But my subjective opinion, my opinion of reality is like, it's only going to get worse. It's going to get worse. And there's nothing you can do.
In the grand scheme of things, it's still not that still not that bad. And I'd say it really. I go back to the Iran-Iraq war as being the most violent period in the Middle East of the past 20th century. I don't see something like that happening anytime soon.
It's gonna happen, man, and we're gonna watch it. And my advice to you guys is like, plot out your future. Don't be scared to understand that. Look, nobody's on your side. There is nobody on your side. Do you think women are on your side? Do you think society's on your side as a male, as a man?
Yeah.
No, they're not on your side. And don't be afraid of what myself and Nick have talked about when it comes to being in another part of the world. We're talking reality. This can exist. You can be this, you can be that. But definitely do not ever think that this world we live in today is not going to turn to shit, because it will. It will turn to shit very fast. Very, very fast. Keep talking.
All right. No, you want to end it?
Mm-hmm. Let's end it. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. You know, this is
That was a good one.
yeah. This is the movement. Take care of yourselves. We'll talk to you later. And
Have a good week.
yeah, hopefully everything will be better for you tomorrow. Bismillah.
The comment section's great. All right. Have a good one.
Bismillah.